like that, Sue.
Yeah, real well.
Not,
In stride, as if
not,
nothing has happened.
yeah, well, and nothing has happened. I don't even have my blanket on yet. I have to get my blanket out here because of the chilly temperatures. Sue is at home today doing the show because she's got some personal stuff to take care of. You're off tomorrow, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Let me just say this to you. Moving when it's 9,500 degrees is great.
Not fun, right?
Uh-huh.
I don't know if look, one time I moved literally in the middle of an ice storm. I'm driving a U-Haul. This was way back in like 1990 in Colombia. I still remember fishtailing with the U-Haul on a road trying to get to my new apartment. But yeah, this is no fun either, right? You can't find that happy medium.
No, there is none.
Maybe March would be a good month to move in, but you don't have that choice.
Last time I moved was like in August, maybe 25 years ago. We hired someone to help us move, and I saw probably 7 men without shirts that I didn't want to see.
Yeah, I can believe that. Boy,
They're all clothed now, but it's not any better.
I feel like I'm in this period where, thankfully, this will be going on, I think, 9 years now, 8 years that we haven't moved, because when I moved back here in 2006, I'd already moved twice in Milwaukee. I moved to an apartment after my divorce and then a condo. So that's twice, right? Moved here into a condo in 2006, then into the house in Holly Hills. That's 4. That's all within like 4 years. Then I moved to, Jeffco Fenton. That's 5. Then I moved to the house I'm in now. So it was like six moves, certainly in 16 years or something like that. That's not fun.
I can't do it. I mean, no. It's just, that's way too much. When I left the house to come back here to do this, there was grumbling and mumbling and banging in the basement as
sounds dirty.
Michael was trying to install and get the dryer at the right level. I left at the perfect moment.
Oh, good. Well, good luck with everything, because in any circumstance, no matter what the weather is, I don't think moving is a whole lot of fun. And I'm the kind, what I do is like I've really shed all the junk. So the next move that I have, in theory, will be a lot easier because we've done the dumpster thing a couple of times and I have less just stuff than I've ever had before. Right. So that helps it out. Ethan, there's your lesson for the future. Don't accumulate stuff that you're never going to look into or open. I can't even imagine Fred's next move. It's going to be so painful. You're going to need like a psychiatrist and a psychologist just to help you through that.
Listen,
Fred,
was it last week that that Fred? Oh, it was when we were talking about the Dr. Laura story, and Fred's like just randomly walks in 2 minutes after that first gets discussed. And he has the newspaper from that day when they announced it. I'm like, how do you just have this?
Right. That's a good question.
But Fred is organized in that way. The rest of us are not. Like, I have an entire drawer that's full of kitchen gadgets that you just have to paw through. Right. So I'm going to have to get rid of those. A lot of those will go to the alley, but it's a...
How about old Fred Bottenheimer over there, ladies and gentlemen?
We have the, maybe everybody does this, but like there's that one kitchen. Actually, I think there's 2 drawers in the kitchen that just accumulate. This is where the pens go and the batteries and the gift cards and all this. And then, eventually I clean it up and I put it in a box, and then the box sits there for months and months and months and nobody does anything. But hey, let me talk about something very happy today in the Reardon household. Oh my God, school started again for Alexa. 5th grade started today. I could not be happier. There were some questions about whether or not these kids go to school too early. Some schools started a week ago today. I say, no, keep them in there year round would be my choice, because it gets to be a real hassle with organizing schedules and stuff like that. My wife has been a rock star the past 7 or 8 weeks because it's tough. You don't want them just sitting around on the iPad, and you want to keep them active. So she had some soccer and some volleyball over the weekend, and then some pool time. And she's got volleyball tonight. So now we can get a little structure in the household. Now, mind you, I was just a tad bored this morning. There was that. Honestly, there was a point in the mid-morning where I was communicating with Fred and everything was sort of taken care of, at least for the time being. I'm like, oh my God, what do I do now? I'm so used to, feeding her lunch or getting her lunch going or yelling at her for not brushing her teeth. Or
don't worry, I'm sure the 94 pets that you have will keep you busy.
Thank you. I was thinking the same thing, Ethan.
Well, and they do that on a regular basis. Hey, the other thing, Sue, since you're not here, Fred and Ethan can vouch for this. Guess what I did over the weekend? And this actually speaks volumes if you really think about it. and I'll explain here in a second. But
Give me a hint.
well,
Was it exercise.
It involves something that you predicted that I would stop by June, and you were pretty close, by the way.
Baking cookies.
Yes. Now, can I explain why that's significant?
Yes.
Because now look, I got this mixer thing last fall. I finally decided the take and bake Toll House. I'm going to just make my own damn cookies. So I buy the fancy mixer, and I'm rocking it out for months and months and months. And there was a point over the winter when this was getting going, and Sue doesn't get to enjoy the cookies because she's very disciplined on sugar, but everyone else does. And you said, because you know that I'm kind of an all in and all out guy, this will last till about June, right? And I was so waiting for you to say something at some point, because I had not baked cookies in a while, right?
A man when he's down.
Well, that's the thing, and this is why it's significant, because and I'm just keeping it real here, all right? So I was off, and I haven't talked. I don't want to bore people with my mental health. I don't want to talk about it too much, but I will say this, that when I was gone and I had all these days off, when you're in this depressive state in particular, and I was experiencing intense anxiety and, depression kind of overlapped, you don't want to do the things that you enjoy doing. So from about the period when I got back from Greece, which is when all this stuff started kicking in, till this past weekend, I didn't have any interest in baking cookies. Like at one point, my daughter said to me a few weeks ago, "Daddy, let's bake cookies." I'm like, okay, yeah, maybe. I mean, I didn't take it upon myself to take it a step further, because I just didn't have the will. It's an odd thing. I think people who've had the dark cloud around them before know this. Like, I'm not as into music when I'm in that mode, but man, I was energized. I had a really good weekend. Last week went very well. It was the first full week back on the air, and I made, I think it was 3 batches of cookies. Some chocolate chip that went very quickly. Then I made some more chocolate chip, different recipe. That's what I brought you guys.
Yeah, it's really good.
And I like my white chunk chocolate macadamia nuts with cranberries. Those are always my favorites. They're not quite as popular around here. I think people see the nuts and everything, they get a little nervous.
I'm a big fan of them.
No, they're good.
I like them.
So that was big steps, Sue, I think, just because it got me in the direction of normalization and doing things that I enjoy doing. So I had a pretty good weekend. I hope that you guys had a good weekend. Fred and I were at the baseball game on Friday night.
And
Ethan, that's right, but we didn't see you. Fred and I were actually hanging out. We were hanging, and Fred actually saw, before I even got there, my wife and daughter were there, and they were doing, what was it, like the selfie cam or something like that? Yeah. And Alexa and Becky got on that, so that was a lot of fun. The games did not go extremely well this weekend. We got swept by the Yankees. I would say, Ethan, Friday night's game was the closest of the bunch. The Cardinals ended up scoring a fair amount of runs on Saturday's game, and they still got beaten, right? And then yesterday, I gave up on yesterday pretty early.
Yesterday, they were tied. Actually, they had the lead going into was that the 8th or the 9th? One of the two.
It was tied going into the 9th.
Going to the 9th. And then just an absolute blow up. Bad defense late in the game by the Cardinals. Should have won late yesterday's game. And Jojo Romero got tagged a little bit again. So, there was a world in which the Cardinals took this series. And unfortunately, you could argue at least that they played just as poorly defensively as the Yankees, and the Yankees are known for being a bad defensive team. So the Cardinals are not a good enough team to play bad defense. They almost have to play perfect in order to win these kinds of series.
It was tied going into the 9th, I think, and then they won.
And then they won 8-4.
They scored 4 in the 9th.
Did Goldie get into taking a bat?
He started yesterday's game.
He did.
And I think
he singled to start.
Did he pinch hit on Saturday too? I thought he got an app. Maybe he didn't get an app.
Friday he waved from the dugout. He kind of took his hat off and everybody cheered, but I didn't know. I had got, man, I'm telling you, and this is something I love. I've declared my love for the NFL and for football. I've watched an abnormal amount of preseason football just because I'm so excited. I'm watching The Kingdom, which is on Disney Plus and maybe Hulu. That's the show about the Chiefs. You got Hard Knocks on HBO. I mean, Sue has been begging me also to talk about fantasy football. She keeps every day. She's like, Mark, now that you're back, I want you to talk about fantasy football. Can we do like a whole segment or something like that? So I'm working on that, Sue, just so you know, I'm moving in that direction. All right. We have a bunch of, it's interesting, the media coverage from Friday. We left the air Friday, and Ethan, it was like timed out perfectly. I go into audio cut of the day, and Trump starts talking and Putin from, Anchorage. Now, it wasn't really a news conference. They both made their statements. And then we went into it. I left, actually. And Ethan, candidly, behind the scenes, he's like, I hope this doesn't take all night because of the Q&A, because you needed to get over to the ballpark.
Yeah, I had no shame in saying that.
It could not have worked out better because they wrapped it up very, very quickly.
You texted me like 6:10. You're like, well, that was ideal.
Yeah,
that
worked
sure
out well.
was.
But the coverage in how much progress, look, I think what's happening right now is rather remarkable. Trump's able to leave that meeting. Now you've got the Sunday shows picking on him because he said, I'm leaving if there's no ceasefire. There was no ceasefire, but he has the leaders of most of the Western world in a room right now with Zelensky talking about the next steps. We have some great audio from that. We have Batya Ungar Sargon, who writes for the Free Press and is a wonderful guest on a regular basis, who has kind of dissected some of the coverage from the weekend. Mike Gonzalez from the Heritage Foundation's coming up. We'll have Sue's News on a Monday. This is interesting. Shannon Robinson, who is the director of St. Louis County Supporting Kids and Community Facebook Group, who is always really good at tipping me off on stories, found some interesting decorations at one of our Parkway high schools, which we will highlight. We'll do that. We got Cusumano on a Monday afternoon. All of that and more is coming up this afternoon.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
It is hot. I just wanted to say that. Westbound 44 is slow past 141. There was an accident in the left lane, and crews have been working to move that off to the shoulder, but there's still a delay in that area. And we've got an accident reported on 270. Looks like it's past Doherty Ferry, and it's causing a jam in both directions. I will try to take a look at that and see what's going on there. It was reported as northbound. Now, there was a stall northbound 55 at Arsenal. Watch for that on the right side. That's not causing a major delay. There was a stall, too, westbound 6440 at Mason. But mostly the volume is just about Hampton now out through McCausland, slowing at Lake St. Louis Boulevard. And there's that delay eastbound 5570 headed for Exchange. That's causing a delay. Eastbound 64 slow just east of 157. That's due to road work. Let's see. Traffic brought to you by Overhead Door Company of St. Louis. Your garage door is the largest piece of moving equipment in your home. And when it needs help, just call the experts at Overhead Door for same-day service, 314-781-5200, or schedule online, overheaddoorstlewis.com. I'm Sue Thomas with traffic, 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
This report is sponsored by Overhead Door Company of St. Louis.
Well, if you need help in the specific area of family law, I'm going to guide you into some really excellent, exceptional help. And that's Susan L. Ward and her team here in St. Louis, which just opened up a new office, which is located in De Pere at Manchester and 270. I know she's very proud of it, the latest technology. If you need her help, she's there for you here in the St. Louis area. And family law can include a lot of different things, not only the end of a marriage, but things that happen in the post-divorce era with modifications to orders, child support, etc. Family plans could change. All kinds of things could change the circumstances, and you still might need experienced legal help. That's why Susan and her team are here. She's got a great team of attorneys. She's been doing it for a long time, so experience really does matter, even knowing the particular aspects of what judges are prone to different behaviors, because that matters more in these cases than you might think. If you need her help, 314-783-9400. The website has everything, including a confidential consultation form. It's easy. It's stlfamilylaw.com. The focus on family law, the emphasis on you, Susan L. Ward.
If you're considering an annuity as part of your retirement plan, we need to talk. Hi, I'm Bob Stockdale, Senior Vice President Investments with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel, and host of On the Money, Saturday mornings at 11 on 97.1 FM Talk. Annuities can be a useful tool for some retirement investors, but not all annuities are created equal. Every week, we meet clients who own complex annuities that don't suit their needs and, in some cases, actively undermine their retirement plan. Before you purchase an annuity, get a second opinion from the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel. Requesting a consultation is free of charge. To request a free consultation, contact us at clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com, or call us at 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member NYSE and SIPC.
Your biggest choice in home restoration is, who do you trust with your home, your most valued asset? Few can match Banner Construction's experience and dedication to excellence. Banner is an elite preferred James Hardie contractor and Pella Window specialist. Restoration is a one-time opportunity to have Banner's design team show you architectural options to make your home the neighborhood showcase. Call for a free consultation, 314-569-1050. Now hiring qualified carpenters.
Feel like your paycheck barely keeps up with your life? At the Financial Freedom Seminar, learn how real people are building passive income and retiring early using real estate. It's all happening live in St. Louis with Lifestyles Unlimited, September 27th and 28th. You'll leave with a step-by-step plan to change your future. Text radio to 88007. That's September 27th and 28th. Text radio to 88007. That's RADIO to 88007 now.
Now back to Mark Reardon, calling out the nonsense, one segment at a time. 97.1 FM Talk.
Well, interesting spin from Margaret Brennan on Face the Nation with Marco Rubio yesterday on the Putin meeting and the meeting today.
Well, he's got the leverage over Vladimir Putin if he wanted to crush his economy or at least do more damage to it. But you have held off on those secondary sanctions. President Trump told Fox News his advice to President Zelensky is make a deal. Russia's a very big power and they're not. You know, there's concern from the Europeans that President Zelensky is going to be bullied into signing something away. That's why you have these European leaders coming as backup tomorrow.
That was an interesting allegation. Rubio didn't take very well to that.
Can you
No, it isn't. That's not why they're
them?
coming as back. That's not true. No, but that's not why that's not true. They're not coming here tomorrow to keep Zelensky from being bullied. They're
well,
not
that
coming.
February Oval Office
they're coming
meeting
here tomorrow
in front of television cameras where President Zelensky.
Do you know how many meetings we've had since then?
Yeah, so that went on and on. By the way, Zelensky kind of did wear a suit today. It was a little different. He didn't wear like a tie, but he did look a little different. And that was one of the topics of the news conference. Batya Ungar Sargon is back with us. She writes at the Free Press, and you see her all over the place on the media. How are you, Batya? Welcome back on this Monday afternoon.
Thank you so much for having me. I feel like so super hopeful right now. And, you know, I don't want to jinx anything, but I feel a little bit like it feels like prayers are starting to be answered on the Ukraine front. So it's just like one of those, you know, since Friday, just seeing Donald Trump be able to like bend reality to his will has been just utterly amazing to watch. So I'm kind of high off of that. How are you?
I'm good, but I'm with you from this standpoint. I think it's pretty amazing and remarkable. Now, Margaret Brennan and some of the other legacy media, they want to point to the fact that Trump said, well, you know, if there's no ceasefire, I'm walking onto this meeting. But to think that he had the meeting the other day with Putin, they leave. There's obviously some questions. However, there are some interesting things that are said about security guarantees. And then the meeting today with all of the leaders of the Western world sitting down currently in this meeting. We'll see how it goes. The allegation that they are just here to bully Zelensky. I think, you know, how about the allegation that they're here to try to solve this freaking problem finally, right, Batya?
It's so amazing because the media in their hatred of Trump and their like need to deny him any victory that is legitimately his have simply been lying since Friday about what's actually happening. And I watch it all day. Like I have a, you know, the 4-screen up of, you know, on YouTube TV where you get, you know,
yes.
I've got my CNN, my MSNBC, my CNBC, and then my Fox. And it's just astonishing how, so throughout the entire coverage of Friday, they missed like the most important part of the story, which was that Putin agreed to security guarantees for Ukraine, which means that essentially this could be over very quickly. I mean, when Trump in the Oval Office with Zelensky 6 months ago got so angry at him, it was part of it was over this. So huge roadblock cleared away through the sheer force of Donald Trump's personality. They missed the fact that Putin was in like complete obsequious mode. Like we have not seen this version of Putin in 20 years. I mean, just basically sitting there with this goofy grin on his face, doing his best to put Donald Trump at his ease, to flatter him. It was very obvious who the top dog was there, but the media, of course, completely reversed that, just basically lying about what happened and then not reporting that the major stumbling block to peace had been removed. So it was like crazy watching the media, like watching the news all day yesterday and just watching the Sunday shows, just trying to spin a totally false narrative. And then the same thing today, you hear them like just hoping beyond hope that Trump starts yelling at Zelensky. Like they really would rather the killing go on for 10 more years than Trump get the Nobel Peace Prize. But I really think that today Zelensky admitted for the first time that he was open to territorial concessions. I mean, do you know what that means? It's astonishing what Donald Trump has pulled off here. And he is the only person on planet Earth who could have done that, which is why all of the European leaders were there. Basically, the same people who laughed in his face for years were sitting there saying, President Trump, you opened the door. President Trump, you made this happen. It was astonishing to watch.
So why I'm a little confused on the security guarantees from this perspective. Why would he agree to some of that? Because obviously Ukraine wants to be a NATO country. That's been ruled off the table, I think, even by President Trump. But some of the security guarantees are very NATO-like if you would have to enforce them, right?
It's a great question. I've been asking myself that the whole time because I thought this was off the table because, 6 months ago when Zelensky was saying we need security guarantees, Trump's answer was kind of like, that's what NATO is and you cannot join NATO, or this will never end. So here's my thinking about it. I think the Donbass is incredibly important to Putin in terms of going back to his people and saying, look, we got what we came for. It turns out that's much more important to him than, he wants to be able to say, look, I started this war over Ukraine not being in NATO. I started it over the civil war in the Donbass. These were our people, Russians, fighting for their sovereignty. I started it over, recognition of Crimea as Russia. And he has maintained throughout that he will pull out his troops immediately if he can get those three things. So it turns out from his point of view, okay, you want to station some peacekeepers along this border. I think from his point of view, if he can get that rim of the Donbass that he has not yet conquered before the Ukrainian flatlands, he's willing to accept that gives him this very unfair advantage militarily and thus to accede to some sort of security force there.
So on the land and the territorial swaps, there was an interesting map. I actually took a picture of it. It was up on one of those screens that you were watching earlier today on Fox, and they showed the Donbass region. They showed how much Russia has control. That's essentially the eastern part, or I guess maybe the southeastern part of Ukraine is where the Russians really kind of control more of the territories. But there's this little area near either Luhansk or Donetsk that he really wants, that he does not have control over. Why is that area so important? Do you know?
Yeah, so that area is it's very hilly. And on the other side of it towards Ukraine, so the Ukraine that's on the other side, that's still part of Ukraine. But on the other side of it, to the west, is all flatlands. It's all farmlands. So the thinking is that is whoever controls that, mountainous ridge in the Donbass has the military upper hand in that region. It's an extremely important part. Now, the Donbass region more generally, about 80% of it are ethnic Russians. And before Putin invaded Ukraine, there was a civil war there because they had declared independence from Ukraine. They had seceded after the Maidan 2014 revolution in which the Ukrainians basically, they had this revolution in which they kicked out their pro-Russian president. And, so in opposition to that, these Russian ethnics in the Donbass region, in Donetsk and Luhansk, declared themselves an independent republic of Donetsk and Luhansk. And so that's, 80% of the Donbass region. Basically, Putin, after he invaded, then basically about a year into the war, he said, okay, now this whole area, you're no longer an independent republic, you're part of Russia. Mm-hmm. And for most of the people living there, they're probably fine with that because they are ethnic Russians. So it's very complicated. There were Minsk Accords that were supposed to be, a general cessation of hostilities between the Kiev government and then the Russian-backed separatists in Donetsk. But, according to the separatists, Zelensky had already, violated those Minsk Accords.
Yeah. There were interesting reporting. Jackie Heinrich said this. I'm told and this makes sense, by the way. I'm told there's no expectation that today wraps up with a date on the calendar for a trilateral summit, but today would be a success if Zelensky had a realistic discussion about territorial concessions. And then she said nobody expects Zelensky to take Putin's first version of the map back to his country, but he needs to talk about what he can let go and what is critical to keep. And then, of course, getting the clarity on the security guarantees. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done, but to get everyone in the room like this, and maybe you hope that this meeting lasts for a long time and it doesn't bust out, early this afternoon, that might mean that there's progress being made. So look, there is a realistic chance at peace here. And I think that that's the goal. Of course, the other side says, well, the only reason he's doing any of this, including the DC crime stuff, is because of the Epstein tapes. Batya. It's all about politics, right?
I just think that is such
it's ridiculous.
BS.
It's ridiculous, isn't it?
Such BS. Trump doesn't care about Epstein. His voters don't care about Epstein. The only people who care about Epstein are the people on MSNBC and CNN who are trying to keep it alive because they think it hurts Trump. And, like Ro Khanna, a bunch of Democrat Congress people who, when they controlled the files, didn't do anything about it. Nobody cares about this. A bunch of podcasters on the right cared about it because they make money off of content.
Thank you.
No one cares about this.
I'm so glad to hear you say that because I've been very confused about that. Batya, Ungar, Sargon, always great to have you. Thank you so much. You have a great week.
Thank you.
All right, take care.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
We indeed have an accident on northbound 270, and it's just before Manchester. 1, 2, 3. Looks like the 4 left lanes are blocked. Traffic is jammed in both directions. So if you are northbound, we've got a parking lot jam that goes back near Big Bend. Southbound drivers slowing for a look. And it's heaviest there back through 40, but there's moderate volume that stretches north of Olive. Now, we've got regular volume. So westbound 6440 approaching Hampton out through McCausland. There was a stall eastbound 270 at New Florissant, but they moved that one off to the shoulder. Now, the other heavy traffic I'm seeing at this time happens to be on the Illinois side, 5570 eastbound, as you head for Exchange, and that's created a jam. There's usually road work through there, and it's caused a delay back through Route 3. This report brought to you by Barron Mirror Glass and Door. Barron Mirror Glass and Door has the largest, most beautiful showroom in all of St. Louis, full of the latest, most custom designs. Located in Chesterfield Valley, and there you'll see why they say creativity unlimited, quality unsurpassed. I'm Sue Thomas with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6986. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-575-6986. That's 800-575-6986. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
Guys, it's time to take charge of your health with my friends at Victory Men's Health. Mark Cox here. I already love what they do at Victory. They do hormone optimization, sexual health, weight loss, even vitamin deficiencies. Now they're offering specialty cardiovascular testing and even early detection cancer screening. Visit them at one of their 4 great locations, now in Sunset Hills, Town and Country, O'Fallon, Missouri, and O'Fallon, Illinois. Tell them Mark Cox sent you. Go to victorymenshealth.com.
Hey guys, Glover here for my friends at Triton Exteriors. Not sure if you've noticed, but the storms seem to be especially bad this spring. If you had James Hardy Smart Siding, you wouldn't have to worry about it. It's not going to be damaged like in the 314-day storm. So we do roofing, siding, gutters, fences. We're always going to be the middle bid. We're never going to cut corners. We're never going to take advantage of you. Call 314-717-1159 or triton-stl.com.
I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. If you've been injured in a car accident, call America's largest injury law firm. For over 35 years, my mission has been to deliver more for our clients, to deliver more for you. Injured? Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
If you're a homeowner or renter and you sustain damage to your home or personal property from the May 16th tornado and storms, you can apply for FEMA disaster assistance. The deadline to apply is Tuesday, August 26th. You can apply by visiting a disaster recovery center at Union Tabernacle MB Church or the Urban League's Entrepreneurship and Women's Business Center in the city of St. Louis by calling the FEMA helpline at 1-800-621-3362 or visit disasterassistance.gov.
Annie Fry here. If you're nearing retirement or already retired, call my friends Thomas Helbig and Bob Kershaw with the Retirement Advisory Group. They'll show you how linking to the market is much safer than owning the market for your retirement savings. They are the official financial advisors of my show. Go to retirementkey.com.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
This portion of the show is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air.
Freedom has a frequency. 97.1 FM Talk. 97.1 FM Talk. St. Louis Conservative.
Well, Jackie Heinrich had a pretty good breakdown here before they all went into this meeting. You know, basically, and I ran down a couple of them with Batya. One of the important things for Zelensky is getting clarity on the security guarantees, what they might look like, you know, because then that will be easier to sell to the folks back home. Asked about what it means for the timeline, I'm told, this is Jackie's reporting, that the U.S. feels that there is political energy behind this, a light at the end of the tunnel. It wants to get it done, but knows it won't be instant, more like weeks, not months, and Ukraine understands this. She says U.S. and Europeans have gently made suggestions on territory, but they are also aware that Zelensky has to take this back and, you know, massage it through his own system. Got to come back with a counter offer. Jackie says, I asked how Zelensky is approaching that given Ukraine's constitutional requirement of a national referendum for territorial changes. She says, I'm told the general attitude is that that's a you problem, as in up to Zelensky to figure it out and handle. And then on territory with minerals being under Russian control, basically, if America has a stake in land, it is a security in and of itself. It's in their interest to make it work. And she kind of goes on and on about some of the other stuff that they're trying to get wrapped up. For example, one part of the discussion on security guarantees won't produce full security plans today, but they want to clear the next steps to work on. So this is a big meeting today, and it's certainly something that we're going to keep an eye on throughout the afternoon. My expectation would be this meeting's not going to break unless they just break for a break instead of just concluding it, because they went in not too long ago, and it will likely take many hours. But we'll track it. We'll have the latest on Fox News at the top of the hour as well. Mike Gonzalez is back with us. He's a senior fellow at the Heritage Foundation, and he's written a book called BLM, The Making of a New Marxist Revolution. How are you, Mike? Welcome back to the show on this Monday.
Hey, Mark, how are you? Can you hear me?
Yeah,
I'm
I
at the
can.
airport.
I can hear you. Very good. Well, thank you. I know you're probably a very busy guy. By the way, on the BLM front, I thought this was interesting. There was a piece in our local paper. We had a devastating tornado here in the spring that hit many parts of the low-income, area of St. Louis, North St. Louis, where you saw a predominant, influx of BLM signs, et cetera, in the aftermath of Mike Brown and George Floyd, et cetera. Somebody asked the question, where's BLM now? In the aftermath of something like that. You don't hear from them very much when other people are affected, when cops aren't involved, do you?
No, I mean, BLM has gone through a lot of shifts. The main BLM group, which is the global network, that one has pretty much gone on the ground. You don't hear from them anymore. The most radical, which is BLM LA, BLM Grassroots, and BLM Chicago, they're still around, making noise, but no, they took in the hundreds of millions of dollars of money that good Americans with white guilt gave them, and bad Americans who knew what they were doing. They just wanted to split society, and corporations who just wanted to buy peace, and then they spent it on themselves, a lot of it, and we see. What we're seeing, let me explain this to you, in the demonstrations that we're seeing for against Israel, it's demonstrations we're seeing against ICE. This is a morphing of the same people, the same money, the same organizers, the same fiscal sponsors, the same funders. So this is the new iteration of that. They graft onto anything to destabilize the society and our cities to break up America.
Mike, last week I played some pretty amazing audio from Jillian Michaels, of all people. She was on one of the CNN panels late at night with Abby Phillip, and they were talking about, and I guess there was a piece in the New York Times and some of the other legacy media. For example, the New York Times headline was, "Historians alarmed by White House plan to oversee Smithsonian exhibits." The Trump administration's plan to, in effect, audit the content of the Smithsonian Museum drew criticism from groups that represent scholars and promote free speech. The way that it was presented on CNN by Jillian and others the other night was, well, what we're trying to do is kind of de-wokeify the Smithsonian, where all they want to do is blame white people for everything that's happened in this country and not really guide people through history as much as blame, colonialism and oppression and all this other stuff, or colonization rather. So it was interesting. You wrote about this. What are they trying to do at the Smithsonian to clean things up a little bit, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna get stuff that doesn't come out till late to midweek in my weekly column in the Examiner. I'm writing about this again. What Trump is doing is basically liberating the Smithsonian, or trying to, and museums in general. After the news came out of the review, this is a very good review. The letter was sent by Lindsay Halligan, special advisor to the president, by Liz Haley, the head of domestic policy, and by Russ Vogt, the head of OMB, to Lonnie Bunch, the director of the Smithsonian, saying that they were going to put the Smithsonian under review. They're going to conduct a review. Basically, what they're saying is they're going to put the Smithsonian under adult supervision. Now, the New York Times and everyone else, and the piece I quoted me, by the way, the New York Times, so they had a lot of historians saying this is outrageous. This is only curators and collectors should be able to conduct a review. And I went back and I spent the weekend looking at this, and it turns out that every job description having to do with museums, whether it's curators, whether it's collectors, whether it's restorers, they're like 95% liberal. And almost no conservatives, like maybe 2 or 3% conservative. This is ideological capture. The woke have captured the museum industry. In fact, I tell you again, breaking news here, Hillsdale, which, as you know, Hillsdale College, a premier conservative college in the country, they considered opening a museum studies department, and they desisted from the idea because they realized that their graduates would not be hired by museums because the liberals are hiring each other. And that's how ideological capture takes place. And the reason they do it is to decolonize museums, to wokeify them. So Trump wants to liberate these museums. That's all.
It's interesting. You brought up an example of Angela Davis, who is a radical, a former Black Panther. She is the recipient of the Soviet Union's Lenin Peace Prize, who once was accused of supplying weapons to a Black supremacist who went on to murder a Supreme Court judge and a couple other people. She gets several exhibits in the Smithsonian, and Clarence Thomas gets nothing. Is that accurate?
Yeah, he got nothing at the African American National Museum, the Museum of African American History and Culture. And then when people complain, I think he got an exhibit at the Museum of National History. National History. What I hear, and this I'm not confirmed, is that Obama had the Smithsonian not give, because Obama hates when Obama was president. When this museum opened, he used his influence to make sure that Clarence Thomas did not get anything. But even without the Clarence Thomas aspect, for Angela Davis to get 4 exhibits for Stokely Carmichael, who wanted to make the civil rights movement violent, for these people to get, and then one of the legends on one of the descriptions, one of the Angela Davis exhibit said you were guilty of nothing but being a Black woman to the core. No. She was guilty of many things. She was guilty of procuring the gun, which killed, which terrorists killed the judge. She was guilty of running for the Communist Party ticket in the 80s twice. The communism has produced 100 million debt. She was guilty of being a stooge for the Soviet Union, for East Germany, for the worst regimes behind the Iron Curtain. For heaven's sakes, is this somebody is this a lodestar for our young to look up to? Is this what our nation should be looking up to? According to the Smithsonian, yes, it is.
Well, that's what the curators want. Here's something else interesting. I'm very happy about this because one of the things that I expressed last year during the election was the horror that perhaps Kamala Harris and her team would be guiding our great nation through its 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. Next year, a great celebration is being planned. They're requesting, though, this team that's looking at the Smithsonian, they want an index of all permanent holdings as well as documents relevant to the 250th anniversary programming and what they're going to do. And I kind of like that, because I'd like to see people come into the Smithsonian and appreciate the greatness and the freedom that this country has afforded people for 250 years. With the current leadership group, I don't think you're assured of that, which is why they're asking for some of this material very wisely.
Well, Mark, I don't think you're old enough, but I certainly am, to remember 76.
I remember it. Of course I do. I was 11 years old. Yeah.
The country was so happy and so proud of America, and that we would not get again if Donald Trump would not be elected. So I think we have to make sure this is a great country. For heaven's sakes, what are we talking about? We need to be proud of being Americans. We need to know the bad parts of it. Obviously, we need to know the bad history and how by striving to live up to our ideals, we solve the problems. We need to know all that, but we need to be, a country, a liberal democracy that forgets who it is and that does not have loyal citizens will not last very long, Mark. I tell you that.
Yeah. Well, that's why next year is so important. And yes, I do remember the bicentennial. I remember riding my bike around as a kid with, the bike decorated in red, white, and blue and all those fun things we used to do. So that's why next year is very important to me. And I want it to be important for my daughter, who will be exactly the same age as I was in 1976. Mike Gonzalez, always great to have you on. Hope you get on that flight okay. We'll talk soon. Have a great week.
Thanks, Mark.
All right,
Bye.
Take care.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Crews are still on the scene of this accident, and it is northbound 270 past Doherty Ferry, and they've got the left lanes blocked. Unfortunately, this involves a vehicle that rolled over. That's why we've got so much emergency equipment on the scene. 1, 2, 3, 4, yes, and they are forcing traffic off to the right. Now, you could still get by in the right lane and the right shoulder, but we've got a parking lot jam that goes back through 44. And southbound 270 drivers, all lanes are open, but people are slowing for a look, and we've got heavy traffic that goes back through Olive. Now, other than that, it's the usual volume. Westbound 6440 approaching Hampton, out through McCausland, and a little bit out at Prospect. Looks like 70 westbound is great out of downtown. We had some moderate volume just past Lake St. Louis Boulevard. Now, 364 westbound is in good shape. 55 is slowing at Bates. And if you're headed into Illinois, we've got a slowdown eastbound 5570 coming off of the Poplar Street Bridge to about the 64 split. I'm Sue Thomas with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
So, we run the puppy Max over to No Leash Needed in the mornings, for his daycare and for this. Lately, I guess the report is this big Great Dane puppy who slobbers all over him, which led to me giving him a bath the other night. But the point is that Becky took him this morning, and then navigating that school traffic, there's a whole new learning curve for a lot of folks, and on the commute home as well. I mean, things are different. They were a little different last week, but very different with Rockwood and all these other schools going back today.
Yeah, it's a totally different commute starting from today on.
All right, we'll talk to you here in just a few minutes. We have Sue's news in the next hour. I'm excited because the new Bitcoin Ben Crypto Club is coming here to St. Louis. It's the 7th club nationwide. It should have been the first, Ben, because this is your hometown, but this is an opportunity for you to dip your feet into the water to learn a little bit about cryptocurrency and what this is all about. And Ben is the perfect person to guide you through it because he was a truck driver. He started getting very interested in crypto. He ended up doing some podcasts and then a YouTube show. He's gotten a lot of attention. He's got clubs down in Florida. There's one in Vegas. And now there's one coming here to St. Louis. And Bitcoin Ben, as we call him, wants everyone to have a chance at this once-in-a-lifetime generational wealth. He gets very emotional. He really does. He's passionate about this. There's a website I want you to check out. Very easy. bitcoinben.io. IO is the new tag on some of the websites because we ran out of so many of the .coms, etc. So it's bitcoinben.io. He will tell you a little bit more about the St. Louis Club, the programs, Bitcoin Ben TV. What's that all about? You can learn in the meetings that will take place. There's live classes on Bitcoin and digital assets. You can find out how to get a loan for Bitcoin purchases. There's all sorts of stuff that you've probably wanted to know for a while. It can be a little intimidating. Ben's going to help educate you. 941-413-6920. The website, bitcoinben.io. That's bitcoinben.io to check out more about the new club coming to St. Louis.
From border security to school choice, the Constitution to the culture war. Made in America. Heard in the Midwest. You're listening to 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
With the heat we have here in St. Louis, just a note, most air conditioners aren't set or able to handle 100 degrees without running constantly. So before you freak out and think your air conditioner is bad, here's a few tips. If you don't have ceiling fans in your bedrooms, you can get pedestal fans and put them in your room. Keep those running all the time. On a second-story house, put one pedestal fan on top of your steps and blow it into the foyer area up high so it's cooling the heat as it's coming up and circulating the air. If you have an attic fan, simple, quick fix, plastic bag, cut it up, and duct tape, because what's happening is it's sucking in all your attic air and the heat and humidity from the outside. Try those things before you call anybody or you call me. But if you did that, please call me, Bart Inman, 314-293-2600. Remember, 0% financing is available for most up to 60 months. God bless.
Back to Mark Reardon, because someone's got to say it out loud. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
You know, I love Jen Say from XXXY Athletics. She's been one of the most vocal, along with Riley Gaines, you know, outspoken people on some of the trans nonsense out there. And she already has an Emmy award-winning documentary called Athlete A on the Larry Nassar stuff, because Jen was an award-winning and a U.S. champion gymnast. So that's out there on Netflix, Athlete A. But there's another film that is called Generation COVID, and Andrew James is the co-director of the film. I think this is so important, you know, in the era that we're in with politics and certainly with Trump, some of the things that go back to, you know, what happened with COVID. And it's interesting for me because 5 years ago, I was helping teach kindergarten as my daughter was not able to go back in person to Rockwood when she started. And that was quite the experience. And these kids are behind. And that's why I always mention David Zweig's book, An Abundance of Caution. I don't know if David is featured in the film. We'll ask because Andrew, the co-director, is going to come on after 5 o'clock. John Seiler, who is the director of higher education policy and a senior fellow at the Manhattan Institute, has some more stuff on DEI and the Justice Department cracking down on universities. So that's coming up. I do think that there is a dramatic tone difference between the meeting today that we saw with Zelensky and Trump in the Oval Office. It was very, very cool heads prevailing compared to what happened 6 months ago.
You've allowed yourself to be in a very bad position, and he happens to be right about it. From the very beginning of the war. You're not in a good position. You don't have the cards right now. With us, you start having cards. Right now, you don't. You're playing cards. You're playing cards. You're gambling with the lives of millions of people. You're gambling with World War III.
So that was one of the most amazing things that we had ever really seen in the Oval Office, and there was a lot of criticism of it at the time. So here he is back in the Oval Office today. They're all in this meeting, you know, with Macron and Keir Starmer and the rest of the leaders of Europeans West. And here's what he said today.
We had very good conversation with President Trump. Very good. And it really was the best one. Maybe the best one will be in the future. But it was really good. And we spoke about very sensitive points. The first one is security guarantees. And we are very happy with President that all the leaders are here, and the security in Ukraine depends on the United States and on you and on those leaders who are with us. In our hearts, they have been online before yesterday, and etc. So a lot of countries on the side of Ukraine, our people, and all of us want to finish this war, stop Russia, and stop this war. We spoke about it, and we will speak more about security guarantees. This is very important that the United States gives such strong signal and is ready for security guarantees.
Yeah, so that was a big part of what happened Friday. Batya was commenting on that earlier this hour. By the way, I mentioned, he kind of wore a suit. He wasn't dressed down as much as he usually does, especially, when he's with Trump or in some of these meetings.
President Zelensky, you look fabulous in that suit.
I said the same thing.
Yeah, you look good.
I said the same thing.
Yeah, looks good.
I said the one that attacked you last time.
Yeah.
See, that was
I remember that.
Yeah, I apologize to you. You look wonderful. No, my first question for you, President Zelensky.
In the same suit. I changed.
I think he said that was the reporter that kind of called him out the last time, and then he apologized. But that was kind of a moment of levity at the meeting this morning. Let me circle back to Marco Rubio with Margaret Brennan, because Brennan essentially makes the allegation that the only reason that Keir Starmer and the Italian prime minister and everyone, Macron, et cetera, I can't remember the guy from Canada, the new guy, why are they there? Well, Margaret Brennan at Face the Nation says it's just to make sure that Trump doesn't bully Zelensky.
Can you
No, it isn't. That's not why they're
reassure
coming
them?
us back. That's not true. No, but that's not that's not true. They're not coming here tomorrow to keep Zelensky from being bullied. They're
Well,
not
that
coming.
February
in fact,
Oval
they're
Office
coming
meeting
here
in
tomorrow.
front of television cameras where President Zelensky.
Do you know how many meetings
was
we've
dressed
had since
down.
then?
Oh no, I know, and I was just up in
Yeah, but we had a
Alaska
bunch of
watching the
meetings
one
since
with
then.
Vladimir Putin, where a red carpet rolled
No,
out.
but
for the
with
Russian leader. It was
Zelensky, we've
very
had more
different.
meetings. We've had one meeting with Putin and like a dozen meetings with Zelensky. But that's not true. They're not coming here tomorrow to keep Zelensky from being bullied. They're coming here tomorrow because we've been working with the Europeans. We talked to them last week. There were meetings in the UK over the previous weekend.
And they said President Trump was going to
talked to
demand
these
a
leaders
ceasefire.
as early as Thursday. No. But you said that they're coming here tomorrow to keep Zelensky from being bullied. They're not coming here tomorrow. Oh, this is such a stupid media narrative that they're coming here tomorrow.
Yes, it is.
Because Trump is going to bully Zelensky into a bad deal. We've been working with these people for weeks on this stuff. They're coming here tomorrow because they chose to come here tomorrow. We invited them to come. We invited them to come. The president invited them to come.
Look, this is there's some parallels that I would say with the DC takeover, because quietly, you even have more of this today where I can play some of the audio later. You got Joe Scarborough and others saying, yeah, you know what? The people that live in Washington, D.C., they welcome this, what Trump's doing, because they know how dangerous it's gotten. But then they say something else behind the scenes. In this particular situation, I think Margaret Brennan and many of the legacy media folks, they're terrified that Trump's actually going to get something done here, because then where do their talking points go? But the meeting is ongoing. It started a couple hours ago. We'll have the very latest on Fox News. Sue's News coming up right after that this afternoon on a Monday edition of the Mark Reardon Show.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Well, that accident involving a rolled over vehicle is northbound 270 past Doherty Ferry. Only the right lane is squeezing by and a right shoulder. So the left lanes are blocked, and we have a parking lot jam that goes back through 44. Southbound, no lanes are blocked, but we have a jam that goes back through Olive. Now, there was an accident westbound 44 past 141. Now it's just a vehicle on the shoulder. We've got southbound 55 slowing at Bates in the construction zone. Northbound 170 slowing at 70, also due to road work. Out west, it's not bad. Westbound 70 or 64 headed for their split. Now, we have a jam on the Illinois side, and it's coming off the Poplar Street Bridge eastbound 55-64, headed right for the 70 split, and then it looks better after exchange. Also on the Illinois side, eastbound 64 slowing 157 through 159. This report brought to you by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air Conditioning. I'm Sue Thomas with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Well, the Dow has kind of been rocking a little bit lately. Today it was down 34 points, closing at 44,911. I actually made an interesting note in my notes on my calendar because back in March when things were kind of tanking, I just kind of took a date. I think it was like August 11th or so. I'm sorry, September 11th. I said, all right, let's look at this day 6 months from now. Yeah, it's the 12th. So on the 12th, which is a Friday, I had a note that said Dow is at 41,350. Where will it be right now? Well, a good chance it'll be over 45,000, but you don't know. And one of the reasons you don't know is because the stock market does what the stock market's going to do. I want you to consider heading into an office meeting with the great team at the Retirement Advisory Group, because they're going to help you in a time where things are very, very confusing. There's no doubt about it. Are you worried about losing your nest egg? Why is it the clients of Thomas Helbig and the Retirement Advisory Group never lost a penny of their principal. Well, they can show you how much income you'll have in retirement, how much time your money will last. I think I heard Sue in the background there. That's my fault. Stop wondering if you have enough money to retire comfortably. Come in for a free assessment. You get a free copy of their book, Your Key to a Worry-Free Retirement. They've been doing this for almost 40 years. You can find out more and do me a huge favor. Tell them you heard about it here on 97.1 FM Talk. RetirementKey.com for Thomas Helbig.
From now on, if you sprang a leak, need a water heater, or have hard water,
Thanks for calling Jerry Kelly Heating, Air, Plumbing, and Electrical.
Jerry Kelly will fix the leak, install the thing, and make that hard water easy. From the company who's got your whole home covered.
JerryKelly.com.
Attention St. Louis Medicaid residents in need of care at home. If you need assistance with daily activities, you can receive in-home care from a loved one that lives with you and they get paid. Through Medicaid, Freedom Care allows you to choose who provides your care at home in St. Louis, and they get paid weekly. Available to eligible Medicaid members in St. Louis. Call now to check your eligibility. It can be your daughter, son, a close relative, or trusted friend helping you with cooking, transportation, laundry, and other activities in your own home. You get the help you need, and your caregiver gets paid. Freedom Care has over 7,000 five-star Google reviews and is a leading choice in St. Louis for in-home care. If you have Medicaid and want to receive great care from a loved one, go to freedomcare.com, or for faster service, call 314-597-1749. 314-597-1749. That's 314-597-1749.
Freedom Care, we're here for you.
KFTK FM Florissant, an Odyssey station.
Historic multilateral meeting at the White House after first meeting with Ukraine's president.
Sitting alongside Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, President Trump told reporters the U.S. will back European security guarantees for Ukraine.
They are first line of defense because they're there. They're Europe. But we're going to help them out also. We'll be involved.
President Trump is meeting with Zelensky and 7 European leaders 3 days after his summit with Russian President Vladimir Putin in Alaska. The president says he's hopeful for a trilateral summit with Putin, Zelensky, and President Trump.
Fox's Jared Halpern at the White House. Today's meetings include the heads of NATO and the EU Commission, as well as the UK, France, Germany, Italy, and Finland. Before heading behind closed doors, many thanking President Trump for breaking a deadlock by opening dialogue with Putin, but emphasizing the importance of those security guarantees for a lasting peace. The meetings just hours after more deadly Russian attacks.
Ukraine's Air Force says that Russia launched as many as 140 drones overnight and as many as 4 missiles. Of those drones, one of them hit Kharkiv earlier this morning. That strike killed as many as 7 people, including a 1-year-old child.
Fox's Alex Hogan. President Trump says honest elections aren't possible in the U.S. with mail-in voting.
We're going to stop mail-in ballots because it's corrupt.
He argues most other countries don't have mail-in voting and says lawyers are working on an executive order. Supporters of mail-in voting say it expands access for people who can't get to the polls to vote in person and argue for safeguarding rather than scrapping it. Texas House Democrats back in Texas ending a walkout that temporarily blocked a vote on new congressional maps. America is listening to Fox News.
You ever try fixing your car and realize you're missing that one part? Yeah, been there. That's why eBay's my go-to. They've got millions of parts guaranteed to fit. I'm talking brake pads for when yours have seen one too many miles of stop and go. Oil filters, because you don't mess around with your engine care. Even got this cold air intake on my watch list. I might just go for it. To keep the ride cool and your DIY streak hot. Find all the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. eBay. Things people love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
You hear that? That's Mike sleeping soundly on a Sunday night. That's because Mike was smart this time. He took ZQL Ultra to fall asleep fast, stay asleep longer, and get the deeply restorative sleep he needs. So now he wakes up refreshed and ready to conquer Mondays.
Let's do this Monday.
ZQL Ultra. Not for colds, just for sleep. Really great sleep. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation, weather.
The summer bake continues for any evening plans in the 90s. It's very humid, maybe a spot thunderstorm. Pretty tough to find, but could bring a downpour of rain and a little bit of lightning. Otherwise, mostly clear skies, only 78 for the low. Tuesday, partly sunny, hot and humid. A couple of spotty thunderstorms, 95, 74 Tuesday night. Couple of storms here and there. Wednesday, partly sunny, Still a chance of some spot storms. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
If you want thick, healthy, gorgeous hair, then you need Hair Volume from New Nordic. Available as a tablet or delicious gummy, Hair Volume is available online at Amazon and NewNordicUSA.com or in the hair care aisle at your local CVS.
Imagine this, a summer evening, relaxing under a beautiful porch overhang, hosting your friends on a composite deck, or enjoying a bug-free breeze in a screened room. That sounds dreamy, right? Hi, it's Kim, and that dream can be your reality with Lakeside Renovation and Design because they specialize in creating outdoor spaces that make your backyard the go-to spot for family and friends. And with their attention to detail and the high-quality materials they use, you'll have a space that lasts for years. Visit lakesideRD.com today to get started on your outdoor oasis.
If you suffer from burning, tingling, or numb feet, pay special attention as we discuss neuropathy with Dr. Patton, D.C. Doctor, what is neuropathy?
Peripheral neuropathy is nerve damage to the feet and legs.
What are the symptoms?
The symptoms are numbness, burning, tingling, pain, and loss of balance.
Is neuropathy treatable?
It's absolutely treatable, and we have amazing results.
If you have burning, tingling, numbness, coldness in your feet or hands or balance issues, call us at Comprehensive Integrated Health today for a nerve damage screening. The screening will tell if you're at risk for serious complications and if you're a candidate for our cutting-edge treatment program. Don't wait until your symptoms are so severe nothing can be done. End-stage neuropathy leaves people confined to walkers, wheelchairs, and even amputations. The first 10 callers will receive a free nerve damage screening. Call 636-538-5188. That's 636-538-5188 for your free nerve damage screening. 636-538-5188.
You've been listening to the very popular Wellness One for many years, Saturdays and Sundays on 97.1 FM Talk. We're happy to share that we've expanded the show to 4 times a week. Yes, 4 times every weekend. Saturday at 10 a.m., Saturday at 8 p.m., Sunday at 9 a.m., and Sunday at 2 p.m. It's the same great show designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you a common sense, science-based strategy for a healthy life. So join TJ and Aaron for Wellness One. Now 4 times a week on 97.1 FM Talk.
This hour of the Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts. This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
Tuesday afternoon, we have Sue's News coming up here in just a few minutes. Fred is in the studio. Sue is doing the show from home this afternoon, but she's still with us, and she will have Sue's News in just a couple of minutes. I was bragging to the fact that school is back in session and all this stuff. Then I get the email that they canceled soccer practice for tonight because, you know why, right? Yeah, because, of this that we hear all the time.
It's so damn hot. Milk was a bad choice.
It is kind of ridiculous. I mean, she had some games yesterday and on Saturday morning, and you're all exposed in the sun. The people watching it from the stands in the shade could barely survive, and these kids are running around. So I'm not crazy that it was canceled because I'd like her to stay active, but I do understand it when it's this hot. And I think this is going to be the week. We get out of this week, kind of look around the corner here. Maybe we should get Dave Murray on in the next few days, but we got temperatures in the 80s. Coming around the corner, and we could always get a little hotter in September, but I think we'll begin to turn the corner, Sue, is what I'm trying to say. I hope.
Didn't I get a text earlier, not that you would know this, but from the city that said, hold on, here's what it said. The National Weather Service has extended the heat advisory until 8 p.m. Tuesday. And I was all happy that it was going to end tonight at 8. Nope.
Right. Nope. Unfortunately. Yeah, it's kind of brutal out there. And, now the question would be, how are we going to keep the little 10-year-old occupied tonight when she should have been running around on a soccer field and, not on the iPad because it's the first day of school, and I'm guessing there's not going to be any kind of homework or anything. Yeah, I'm going to take the puppy tonight. I'm picking up the puppy, and I'm going to take him for a walk. So I got that. Hey, did you hear how MSNBC has changed its name, or it is changing its name a little bit later? Yeah, so this is interesting. It's not MSNBC. It is going to be MS Now. Here's Joe Scarborough making the announcement.
New name for the network by the end of the year. We will become MS Now, which stands for My Source for News, Opinion, and the World. And look, they even have a graphic up. We're going to be moving in this direction, MS Now. I'm excited about that. So I'm excited about this, too. It's like, What's in a name? Well, whatever you put into the name.
The name, you see, is meant to reflect the channel's mission to provide breaking news and best-in-class opinion journalism, says Rebecca Cutler, MSNBC's president, in a memo to employees today. I want to acknowledge that for many of you who've spent years or decades here, it's hard to imagine that the network by any other name. This was not a decision that was made quickly or without significant debate. So you remember this all started, I had to kind of cross-reference the date with MS kind of Microsoft taking an interest in this. So it was a pairing between Microsoft and NBC. And that was, I think, in like I had this written down, Fred, 1996. I can't believe it was that long ago.
Wow.
And then so I was going to try to pull this audio, but I think our audio systems kind of got blended, and I'm not sure if the bite still exists. But I worked with an anchor reporter in Milwaukee by the name of Contessa Brewer. And Contessa became a pretty big part of the MSNBC broadcasting in the mid-2000s, I would say. I worked with her in Milwaukee in the early 2000s. She goes to the network. She does a lot of stuff right now on CNBC. She's sort of someone who does a lot on sports wagering. So I know, Fred, we tried to get her on last year, but I had asked her a question. Now, this would have been, I'm guessing, 2007 or 2008 when I asked her this question. Do you remember this?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it said, so I said, you guys sort of fancy yourself as the left wing, Fox. And the soundbite that I would always play, and this was featured in my open for the longest time. That's crazy talk. No way, that's crazy talk. When it was pretty obvious to everyone, that's exactly what they were doing. I don't know. Do you know why NBC wanted to separate MSNBC from the news product? And that's part of what this is. I guess they're not going to be on Peacock. Those are staying with Comcast. So the NBC brand and Peacock will stay with Comcast, but this is part of, and this is where they get official with the language in the memo. This gives us the opportunity to chart our own path forward, create distinct brand identities, and establish an independent news organization following the spin. CNBC is going to stay the same. That stands for Consumer News and Business Channel, but it will be accompanied by a new logo without the Peacock when the separation is complete. And all this is supposed to happen at the end of the year. So, I didn't know this, but they said that MSNBC, ever since this split was announced, has gone on a hiring spree. They've added 36 reporters, journalists, so-called journalists, as they prepare to separate itself from NBC News. So I guess they're not going to share the same reporters as they have. They're going to have their new reporters, which is kind of interesting.
Wait, what's it called again then, the new one?
It is MS Now, MSNOW. So My Source News Opinion World. You think they could have done better than that?
Yes.
Yeah. I think I guess they have to do it because NBC is requiring them to sort of go in a different direction. But as so often is the case, when we hear about these things, it doesn't sound like that one's really something that comes off the tongue very well. People are still going to call it MSNBC, right?
Oh, for sure.
It's kind of like the Sears Tower in Chicago and Riverport Amphitheater here in St. Louis. That's right. We're gonna call it what we're gonna call it. There was something NFL related. I'm gonna hold off on that. Brian Kilmeade kind of popped off on something related to the NFL that I kind of agree with. In just a little bit, we'll have Sue's News, and then Shannon Robinson is going to join us at the bottom of the hour. I love Shannon. She is someone who tweets very voraciously. She makes a lot of points about education issues. We're gonna, talk a little bit here this afternoon about COVID with Jen Say and the director of a new movie, which is called Generation COVID. Shannon was just absolutely brilliant in the era of COVID. That's how I got to know her and exposing some of the nonsense that was going out there in schools. So it was not her school that she was going to, but she posted some pictures over the weekend at Parkway South Middle School, where the first thing that you see when you walk in the door is a bunch of alphabet mafia, bi, gender, blah, blah, blah stuff. And that's like the first thing you see when you go into the school. And there's another photo from a couple other schools too. Really, we got to do this, first and foremost, but I guess that's what they do. And I'm sure Rockwood has the same thing, but Shannon's going to join us. Then we got Cusumano a little later this hour on 97.1 FM Talk.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Wow, this accident on northbound 270 past Doherty Ferry involves a rollover vehicle, and they've got the 4 left lanes blocked. We've got a real jam behind it, parking lot jam that goes back through 44. Southbound 270 is jammed as well, although no lanes are blocked. It's back to about Olive. Now, the other jam is eastbound on the Poplar Street Bridge to about the 70 split, and eastbound 64 lines up 157 through 159. Now, there's also a little bit of volume out west on westbound 70. It's pretty slow. We had an accident reported just past Highway K. Things look fine on 364 and 6440 out west. Just some moderate volume around Lake St. Louis Boulevard. 55, that's mainly slow right at Bates. This report brought to you by Barron Mirror Glass and Door. Barron Mirror Glass and Door, simply the finest when it comes to mirror glass and shower doors. You can't find better quality, prices, or service than Barron Mirror Glass and Door. They have the basics all the way up to the elite. Barron Mirror Glass and Door can't be beat. I'm Sue Thomas with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Thank you, Sue. We have a Monday edition of Sue's News coming up here in just a moment. They have some reporting on Fox right now that says the Trump meeting with Euro leaders on Ukraine has wrapped. So that would be, Fred, where would you put that? At about 3 hours, the meeting overall?
Yeah,
probably.
maybe 2.
Maybe 2. I don't know if that's a good thing or not, right? And we don't know if there's any plans to come out and talk, but certainly we will bring that to you if it happens.
This is the story of the one. As a lineman, he does whatever it takes to keep the power on in his community. And he wants a partner like Grainger who does the same. Grainger offers the professional-grade products he needs, from voltage detectors to harnesses to hard hats, plus fast, dependable delivery, so he can rise to every challenge. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
An official message from Medicare.
I turned 65 this year. I knew it was time to figure out Medicare, and I had questions, like when to enroll and how to enroll. So I went straight to the official source, Medicare.gov, to get the facts about Medicare. I found answers to all my questions, and I'm ready to get started. And so can you. Just go to Medicare.gov to get the real facts about Medicare.
Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
We all have different ideas of the perfect retirement, but they all depend on the same thing, not running out of money. And preparing for retirement can sometimes be overwhelming, but it doesn't have to be. Find out how you could build your retirement on your terms. Join host Steve All for the All Financial Hour Saturday mornings at 6 here on 97.1 FM Talk.
You can also visit yourmoneymattersstl.com for more details.
It's the greatest pop rock of the 60s and 70s. The Happy Together Tour 2025 with the Turtles, Jay and the Americans, Little Anthony, Gary Puckett and the Union Gap, the Vogues, and the Cowsills. This Thursday night, the Family Arena. Reserve seats on sale now at the Carroll House Furniture box office located at the Family Arena or Ticketmaster.
Get ready for BTO, live in concert. Bachman Turner Overdrive, with special guests April Wine and Zebra. Roll on down the Highway 2025 tour. Saturday, August 30th, the Family Arena, a night of vintage BTO. Tickets on sale now at the Carroll House Furniture box office, located at the Family Arena or Ticketmaster. Don't miss Bachman Turner Overdrive.
Hey, it's Bo Matthews, and Missouri Brush Control is helping landowners reclaim their property with forestry mulching. If invasive plants and trees have overtaken your land, Missouri Brush Control will mulch vegetation where it stands with specialized equipment that is efficient and eco-friendly. Selective land clearing like this can help you maximize your property's value. Enjoy your land like you've always dreamed of. Check out our website or Facebook page for before and after photos and videos of our projects. Learn more at MissouriBrushControl.com. That's MissouriBrushControl.com.
Hey there, cats and kittens. It's Brian from The Commercial Break, the mediocre comedy podcast where my best friend Chrissy and I attempt to make sense of the world. We talk about the absurd, the ridiculous, and the stuff no one asked for, like internet weirdos, pickup artists, and why everyone is obsessed with crystals and colonics. It's all got to stop. The show is free, it's frequent, and it's probably not for everyone. You can go to tcbpodcast.com, subscribe at youtube.com/The Commercial Break, or check out the show wherever you listen to podcasts. We'll see you on the next commercial break. And best to you.
From politics to pop culture, Reardon breaks it all down.
97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Yeah, okay, so we have some indication that the meeting between the European leaders, Zelensky and Trump, has wrapped up here this afternoon. And we'll have to see. We don't know if we'll have any kind of media event like, we usually do. But one would think, Fred, that Trump would come out and say something about this. But we'll have to see. And, you know, maybe it was just a break in the meeting. Maybe they're going to break for dinner or something like that. There is very little coming out of, concrete information right now. We just know that they've wrapped for the day. That's what we're told. But let's do this right now on a Monday afternoon.
These allegations are deeply concerning.
Does the president have any comment?
We're not going to comment.
It's not clear messaging.
No.
And now, Sue's News. Brought to you by Sue.
Fred, do you have the bell? Thank you. Just curious. Okay, it is National Fajita Day, which sounds real. Thank you. It sounds really good to me. Only topped by this one, National Ice Cream Pie Day. Oh, I love an ice cream pie. Thank you.
I'm going to overuse it.
Right.
And National Mail Order Catalog Day, which I don't know whether that.
I'm stopping.
Yeah, what in the world is that about?
I don't know.
Does that even exist
like
anymore?
J. Crew catalogs, maybe?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Land's End, if you will.
Yeah, I get them mostly for flowers, plantings,
that
sort of thing, like Brex. That'll say order your tulip bulbs and that sort of thing. But I do remember the days of the Sears catalog or the JCPenney where that's the only thing that's where you saw stuff. That's it. There was no interweb, kids.
That's pretty much it. You're right. Yep.
Yeah, and they were huge, and they came in the mail, and we all got excited. The days.
I'm not going to tell you about the particular part of the JCPenney or the Sears catalog that excited me, but any any man out there who was younger at the time will understand that completely, because that's all we had too there. That's all we had.
Well, 19 years ago, I was looking up this day in history, and there wasn't much, but for some reason, this amused me. 19 years ago today, in 2006, Snakes on a Plane was released, starring Samuel L. Jackson as an FBI agent trying to keep a witness alive aboard an overseas flight. So I thought, oh, isn't that cute? I'll go, and I went to YouTube, and I just, put in there, best line from Snakes on a Plane. And it was so profanity-filled that I didn't think I would do that to Ethan.
I appreciate that, Sue. It's one of the nicest things you've ever done to me.
Because he just talks about the Samuel L. Jackson standing at the front of the plane saying, I don't want any more MFing snakes on it.
Right.
It's just kind of funny. Did anybody see that movie?
Oh, I saw it. Yeah.
And how was it?
It was good for what it was. It was campy, good,
just
kind of fun.
Campy, that's fair.
Don't think I ever went back and watched it again, but
I
certainly
can't
saw
imagine. All right, Volkswagen. This just annoys me. Okay, Volkswagen has introduced a monthly fee for its electric cars, where people have to pay extra to unlock the full horsepower. Ooh,
what?
Oh, I could not hate this more.
Yeah, no kidding.
They're only doing it in the UK for now. So this is how, okay, you get around 15% more horsepower for $22 a month. Now, so never, they want you to just pay monthly. They're just looking for, ridiculous. Here's an example of how it works. Their Volkswagen ID.3 electric car has 228 horsepower, but if you don't pay the fee, just over $20 a month, you can only access 201 of that horsepower. First of all, Big Brother controlling how fast you can go in a car. Hate it. Hate it.
I don't like that either.
They claim it's, quote, nothing new. Quote, historically, many gas and diesel vehicles have been offered with engines of the same size, but the possibility of choosing one with the possibility of choosing one with more potency. Okay, remember this. I think we talked about this in Sue's News. They're not the first ones that have tried to gouge customers like this. A few years ago, it was BMW who tried to charge folks in the UK to use their heated seats. They ended up nixing it because too many people were mad.
Well, they should have been mad. I mean, you buy a car because of the features that they might have, not because you want to go online and have the software dictate what you get because you pay more money.
Yeah, that's my question is what is the hurting Like, what is it costing Volkswagen to give them access to that extra horsepower?
That's
Nothing,
just
right?
Nothing.
There's no purpose, literally
Correct.
zero
It's a money
purpose
grab.
to charging more.
Yes. It's just
and
a
it's
money
not like
grab.
it's going from 200 to 400 either. That's the other thing
Exactly.
that's weird about that.
It's just not even that much.
Because
Of course,
you take me up a couple hundred, I might be the guy that pays for the fee. But
oh my gosh,
But that's crazy. If you've purchased the vehicle, you should get everything that goes with it. You don't have to pay monthly for anything. There's also an option they think of, just pay a one-time fee of $880. And Volkswagen says that option keeps it unlocked even if you sell the car.
How stupid.
Yeah, we'll see if
I
that
hate
transfers
it.
over here when they try things like this. You know,
Yeah,
Not as long as Trump's in office.
You know, it's
Okay.
you know, we don't use this is something I think that's misunderstood pretty broadly on the climate change front, is that we use vehicles very different over here than they do. You know, Fred, you were in Asia and
Right.
I was in Europe, and they have very small cars. They don't have the to and from to work like we do. The whole culture is different. So that's why I hate it when we try to compare things, to this country. There's got to be a reason that I'm missing on this one, but I
It's
don't
a
think that
money
would work
grab.
here at all. Right.
I agree with Sue. I think it's a money grab.
It's just a money grab. Well, okay, there's a study out from the University of Otago in New Zealand. And I looked this up. I find this interesting just because I would like to sleep better or longer. And here's what they said. Some light exercise before bed can help you sleep in longer the next day. All you have to do is pick some simple moves. You could do some chair squats or calf raises, standing knee lifts. Do them every 30 minutes for 4 hours before bed. Now, why do I have to stretch
Wait a
that
minute.
out for 4 hours?
Yeah, wait a minute.
Do them every 30 minutes for 4 hours before bed. I don't have 4 hours.
Yeah.
Nobody's
No.
doing that.
No.
Okay.
On average, participants in the study who moved around in the evening slept 27 minutes more than when they stayed glued to the couch. I guess the idea is just get up and move around. They went to bed the same time, but they woke up later. So each mini set could only last 3 minutes, so 24 minutes total. So just get up a couple times, do some light exercise for 4 hours before bed. Okay, now they also throw this in there. Friendly reminder, you should avoid heavy exercise before bed. It can raise your body temperature and heart rate, so you do have to keep it light.
Yeah, no problems there. I'm pretty compliant in that one.
Well, yeah, I guess you got that one under
I
control.
do the most intense exercise these days would be though after work when I get the puppy and then he eats and then I kind of run him around and we do kind of like a run walk thing because he loves to sprint. I'm trying to get him, kind of out of it so he can just chill on the couch when I'm ready to chill on the couch.
I'd love to see you running, Mark.
Well, why is that so
I don't-
funny to
it's-
you?
It's not funny. It's
I think
just
he wears like the short shorts,
I
like
don't
the
know,
runner
it's just
shorts.
Seeing you do something different than I'm used to seeing.
You've
you
never
do.
seen me run before? I guess you really wouldn't
No.
have, but I can
No.
do it. I'm capable.
Oh,
They
yeah.
told my daughter, the coach, my daughter's doing the soccer team. My daughter apparently has not learned how to run. Like she
Oh.
doesn't know how to sprint.
So like her arms.
Yeah,
flail.
her arms are kind of on the soccer field. And the coach is trying to coach that out of her where she can, she's athletic, but she's learned how to sprint in the pool, not on the
Right,
soccer
she-
field.
yeah,
So
they're
I
just
never
trying-
even thought about that until Becky brought it up yesterday. I'm like, yeah, I guess you're right about that. So they're gonna
Good
Mark,
for
do
coach.
you
try
run
to-
with your arms flailing
I might.
around?
That's what Fred thinks. That's what Fred envisions, I think.
All right, I love Denzel Washington. I mean, he's Denzel for heaven's sakes. But part of why I like him is he just doesn't take any crap of any
Right.
kind. And he did an interview where someone asked him about, do you think you could ever be canceled? And he said, no.
Like
And,
woke
we have some-
cancellation,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
That
Here's the
kind
one.
of cancellation.
Exactly.
Here we go.
Being quote unquote canceled.
What does that mean?
It means you lose public support.
Who cares? What made public support so important to begin with? I don't care who's following. You can't lead and follow at the same time, and you can't follow and lead at the same time. I don't follow anybody. Forget being followed. You can't be canceled if you haven't signed up. Don't sign up.
Don't sign
Oh,
up.
I love
There
him.
you go.
I love it. And there's a story out today about, I just thought this was bizarre. Well, I'll do it quickly. A mechanic in Minnesota was working on a 2015 Ford SUV when he found a wallet that an assembly worker left in the car 11 years ago. And he found the rightful owner and said, yeah. Oh, and the guy's like, oh my gosh, yeah, I bet it fell out while I was making the car. And they got it back to him. I've just not heard a story about it.
Yeah, 11 years. Any of the credit cards still good?
I don't know. And finally, in Sue's news, we do have today's random fact. Okay. A pair of identical twins marrying identical twins is called a quaternary marriage. Genetically, their kids would technically be considered first cousins, but their DNA would be that of siblings. Try that one in the
That's
middle.
too much for my brain.
I know.
That's too much.
That made my
Too much
brain
for a Monday.
hurt here this afternoon. Right. I'm with you, Ethan. There you go. Wrapping a Monday edition of Sue's News.
Administration is moving to prevent benefits for some student loan borrowers under the popular Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program. According to the U.S. Department of Education, they've issued a notice to halt loan forgiveness under PSLF for employees, quote, of organizations that are undermining national security and American values. Shares of TerraWolf rallied more than 11% today after Google hiked its stake in the data center operator as it funds an expansion of one of its New York facilities. Google will offer up to $1.4 billion, bringing its total to roughly $3.2 billion. Stocks were mixed today as markets cooled off following a hot week as traders eye a speech from Fed Chair Jerome Powell. The Dow falling more than 30 points, the S&P off slightly, and the Nasdaq up by 6. Crude oil futures for September are up there above 63 a barrel. That's your money now.
I'm still going for it, even with higher stroke risk from atrial fibrillation, an irregular heartbeat not caused by a heart valve problem. Over a 3-year study, Eliquis apixaban tablets reduced stroke risk better than warfarin, and over 97% of Eliquis patients did not experience a stroke. A first stroke occurred in 2.9% of warfarin patients versus 2.3% of Eliquis patients.
Don't stop prescription Eliquis without asking your doctor. Stroke risk may increase. Eliquis can cause serious and potentially fatal bleeding. Don't take if you have an artificial heart valve, abnormal bleeding, or antiphospholipid syndrome. While taking, you may bruise more easily or bleed longer. A spinal injection increases blood clot risk, which may cause paralysis. Get medical help right away for unexpected bleeding or bruising, or back pain, tingling, numbness, muscle weakness, or incontinence. Aspirin products, NSAIDs, SSRIs, SNRIs, and blood thinners increase bleeding risk. Tell your doctor about planned medical or dental procedures. Learn more at Eliquis.com or call 1-855-ELIQUIS.
Well, for a variety of reasons, I'm excited about football. And one of the reasons is because of Underdog Fantasy, which is the best place to select entries and win money all season long. And you can play here in Missouri. We've been spreading the good word about Underdog for several months right now. And it's so easy. And if you haven't downloaded the app and taken advantage of the bonus funds, I'm going to guide you into that here in just a second. You do have to start with downloading the app. You come up with a username, and then you can make a deposit. If you get your entries right, and you can play with as little as $1, you can win up to 1,000 times your cash. And by the way, just because football is back doesn't mean you have to do just all, football entries. You can do other sports as well with baseball when the hockey league starts. Any sport you can cross, mix, and match and have a lot of fun with it. So, for example, on the Chiefs, when I think they take on the Bears for the final preseason game this weekend. I don't think you have as many options during the preseason on Underdog as you do when the regular season starts, but you just got to go with Pat Mahomes, for example, higher or lower than 38.5 passing yards. So how do you think he's going to do? Some of that depends on whether or not he's going to play. That's why it gets a little trickier during the preseason, but download the app, sign up with the promo code MarkR. That's going to score you $50 in bonus funds when you play your first $5. Again, the promo code is MarkR. Millions of fans have won billions making plays on Underdog. Must be 18 plus and present in Missouri. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details. Concerned with your play, call 800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org.
You're listening to Leaf Filter Radio, and the guru of gutter protection himself, Chris Coonahan, is here to take your most pressing leaf-related questions.
Hey, everybody, Chris here. I understand we have Ron on the line. Ron, where are you calling from?
Uh-oh. Ron, are you calling from a ladder?
Well, I was. I wanted to ask Chris what I need to do to get my gutters ready to have leaf filter installed.
Oh, Ron, you don't have to do anything. A Leaf Filter Trusted Pro will come out and clean out your gutters, realign and seal your gutters, and install Leaf Filter, America's #1 gutter protection system.
So I didn't need to get on this ladder?
Ron, Leaf Filter Trusted Pros are in your neighborhood and ready to help. Just visit leaffilter.com/radio to schedule your free gutter inspection and get up to 30% off.
Thank goodness. What was that site?
That's leaffilter.com/radio for your free gutter inspection today. See representative for warranty details. Promotion is 20% off plus a 10% senior or military discount. One discount per household.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
And this portion of the show is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air.
From the gateway city to the front lines of freedom. 97.1 FM Talk. St. Louis Conservative.
Very excited to talk with Jen Say after the top of the hour. She is with XXXY Athletics, also is very, very outspoken on a lot of these trans sports issues, along with Riley Gaines. She did an Emmy award-winning documentary called Athlete A. Jen is a U.S. champion gymnast, and it was the Larry Nassar situation up there at Michigan. But she has a new film that she is producing, and it's called Generation COVID. Andrew James is the co-director of the film. As I welcome in my next guest, Shannon Robinson, who is the director of St. Louis County Sporting Kids and Community Facebook page. That is something, I was promoting our segment, Shannon. How are you, first of all? I hope all is well.
I'm well. How are you, Mark?
I'm good. I knew that you would be very interested in this documentary because you were somebody that really picked up a lot of steam. I know that's how I got to know you 5 years ago during the COVID thing, when we were exposing some of the nonsense that was going on in schools in particular, but also with municipalities. So you may want to tune into that, because I think that that's such an important issue and still kind of undercovered when it comes to the damage that was inflicted on these kids.
I agree. Actually, I've heard about it, and I'm really excited. I'm really excited to watch it.
Well, I saw something, I think maybe it was Saturday morning. You tweeted something out here, and it said, still in the 7th grade halls of Parkway Southwest Middle School to greet the students. And I think you tagged Andrew Bailey in this and said, how do parents opt out of this? So basically, and this is not your school, or one of your kids doesn't go to this school, right?
Correct. No, this is in the Parkway School District. This is Southwest Middle, and a parent had sent this to me. A lot of the parents we met, like you said, we kind of met during COVID. I like to call it the common sense movement. And so I'm still active, and so are these parents. And so this was sent to me in the Parkway School. And quite frankly, I think these parents are just kind of tired of it. So this apparently was up last school year. Parents kind of pushed back on it. The schools didn't do anything about it. And then when they showed up to the meet and greet last week for their teachers.
Yeah, meet the teacher, right. Yeah,
they found that bulletin still there. And so parents obviously are outraged by it. They're frustrated by it. And, the school should be a place of learning. They should not be a place of over-sexualization. Their children, we send our children to school to build foundations in reading and math and science, and not to be introduced to adult themes and ideas about sexual preferences. So they're frustrated.
Yeah. So the I don't know, would you call it a bulletin board? Is that essentially what it is? And it's decorated with the pride flag around it. And there is a banner up above on the top of it that says LGBTQ. I think they should be punished for not including the IA and all the other letters. So, but we'll overlook that here for the moment. But then there's all these flags, and there's all these, little stickers or whatever you would call them, Post-it note type things that say bisexual, bigender, transgender, non-binary, almond sexual. Oh, that was a different one. Almond sexual, pride, berry sexual, pansexual. That's a new one. There's a couple that I'm learning here. Lesbian, gay pride, omnisexual, gender fluid, agender. They're all up there, including almond sexual, which again, that has me very curious this afternoon. And the question would be, look, again, this is 7th grade. So my daughter just started 5th grade today. She's only a year away from middle school. And this is the kind of stuff that you're going to start getting when you get into these older grades with the, obviously it's more indoctrination forward, if you will. Right, Shannon?
Right. No, unfortunately it is in some of the schools. And I think what happens is when we have these lessons on the bulletin boards that focus on these different types of, sexuality, I think we risk a lot of things. We risk confusing kids. We risk distracting them from their academics, which is why they're there. But also the most important, I think, is that it's crossing a line that rightfully belongs to the parents. It's the families. It's not the schools, in my opinion, that should guide children in personal conversations about sex and values in ways that, match their age and beliefs. And the reason I tagged Andrew Bailey is because this is something that came up actually quite a few years ago in Rockwood. I used to be in the Rockwood School District. And in the state of Missouri, there is a state statute. It's 170.015. And specifically in Section 5, it discusses this exact thing, that schools are required to notify parents if any discussion of human sexuality topics will be introduced in any way. And then they have to give the parents the right to opt out. So my comment was, how do you opt them out? Like, how do you opt out of walking down the hallway? They're not letting the parents know, and they can't opt out of this. So parents are really frustrated. And I know the news got back to it is State Rep Phil Oletter King. I apologize, I'm butchering his name, but he did contact the school. And he requested that the boards be taken down. And from what I heard today, they've been taken down.
Oh, wow. So you did send another picture. Same school. This was from the 6th grade pod, which was a little different, but it was a bunch of kids up there that were either non-binary or gender fluid or whatever. And it says love is love. But that was some positioning that took place for the 6th graders. So there again, my daughter, and I'm going to see how this year goes in 5th grade, because obviously as these kids get a little older, the friends start talking about different things. Who knows what they're exposed to? But, that seems a little too early to have stuff like that. And I guess when I saw this over the weekend, I was talking to my wife. I'm like, okay, maybe in high schools, although I don't think it belongs anywhere, but we're now trickling down damn near to, elementary schools on some of this stuff. And by the way, there is stuff like this across the country in elementary schools, just not probably around here. Certainly in New York, LA, San Francisco, and elsewhere, you'd see the same things.
Right.
For the younger kids.
And that's why Missouri had stepped in. They're saying, look, some of these kids are pretty young, and the discussion should be about, again, human sexuality. Sexuality needs to be at the home, needs to be in the home. It's not the school is not the place for it. And I agree that every child deserves to feel safe and respected and welcome in the classroom, but that can be taught through kindness and respect, anti-bullying. We can get that message across without putting sexual content front and center. I don't understand why it has to be front and center.
I don't either.
And parents, we decide that they don't even have a choice.
Yeah, because like you said, how do you opt out of it? And if they did keep me posted, because if they covered up the posters, if they took them down, that would be very interesting. And I'm sure you'll have, some teachers out there that will mock that or be opposed to doing that, but that's fascinating. Now this is separate but related. You saw this situation from a couple of weekends ago where the guy got kicked out of Citi Field at the soccer game for wearing a MAGA hat. And apparently when all was said and done on that was an MLS policy that was being cited. But you have an organization, this is why it's separate but related, in whether it's the MLS or that team in particular, where you got pride stuff everywhere, all over the place, off the charts. So that stuff's okay, even though not everyone is on the same page with it. But if you wear a MAGA hat into a soccer game, that is cause for, immediate removal and perhaps arrest if you don't comply. So I think calmer heads over there at the team prevailed. I was told that there was a briefing last week where they said, look, we're not going to enforce this stuff from MLS. So just leave people alone. If there's stuff that comes up and people complain, send them to us and we'll kind of deal with it from there. So, it's across the board, and these kids are exposed to, I really am kind of bracing myself. Look, my best friend is gay, and my daughter knows that, so we've had exposure to things that have happened out there that she may not have complete comprehension of, but she's never really brought up some of the trans stuff, which I'm surprised by, because, there's a fair amount of exposure. I try to not let her watch all of Fox News, but, these kids are paying attention. They're following the stories I mentioned last year. And toward the end of the school year, you had this Minnesota pitcher and a high school team up there that was dominating the competition. All the kids on softball teams here in Missouri knew about it, right? They knew what was happening out there, but you kind of have to keep your mouth shut. You have to act like you don't know what's going on.
Right. I agree with you. And again, these topics, they're good conversations to have, but the parents need to be the one guiding those conversations, not the schools. Again, not these adults who want to butt in their opinion on things. It needs to be with the families, and the families should have the right to, again, opt out of things if they're not comfortable with it. They should have the right to do that.
Keep on them, Shannon. By the way, and I don't want to spread a rumor here, but there was some reporting today about. No, I'm concerned about this, and I haven't gotten a response. There was some reporting from Scott Fawn, who is a Jefferson City insider, that said that Andrew Bailey might be going to Washington to be part of the FBI. Now, I texted Andrew to see if he would confirm or deny. No response. He usually does respond. So I don't know what there is to that story, but I'd hate to lose him because he's doing such a great job here in Missouri. You know that, Shannon.
Yeah, crickets. That's never a good sign. I've heard that same rumor, so I think we're all interested to see what's going to happen with that. But I agree. I agree with you on. He's done some really good things for Missouri and in St. Louis County recently. So I applaud him for that.
I don't want him to take it. I just, if I can give him advice, don't take a professional, advancement in your career. No, his family though, in a serious fashion, his family's very important. He's got the kids. I know that he travels a lot to and for, from St. Louis and Jeff City. He's kind of located his home in between. So this would be a big move. And I'd be hard pressed for me to believe that the family would have to stay back here in the St. Louis area, but we'll keep you posted on that. I just saw that earlier. I haven't seen any other confirmation. Shannon Robinson, always great to have you on. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Mark. I appreciate it.
All right. We got Frank Cusumano coming up. And then don't forget Jen Say and her director, Andrew James, who made the film Generation COVID, coming up after 5 o'clock.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Well, the big issue on the roads this afternoon has been this accident involving a vehicle that rolled over northbound 270 past Doherty Ferry, and they've still got the 4 left lanes blocked. I have put this on X at Susan6768 if you want to see it, but they've only got the right lane and the right shoulder open. Traffic is just jammed behind it. The southbound drivers are slowing for a look as well, and they've got a slow go that goes back through Olive. Now, if you are westbound on 64, there's some slow-moving traffic. It's not terrible, but it's approaching Hampton out through McCausland. Then again, approaching Lindbergh out through 270. 141 is jammed in both directions at 64. 64 slowing again at 94. Now, 70 out of downtown looks better. There's some volume at Jennings Station Road, and a little bit. There was an accident past 79 that caused a delay through there. Well, now we've got an accident on 55. Well, actually, this is 44 at 55, if that helps you, just south of the Poplar Street Bridge. Traffic jamming east and westbound 44. And that westbound jam goes back to the Stan Musial. There's also heavy traffic eastbound on the Poplar Street Bridge and 64 east of 157. And that's a lot. I'm Sue Thomas with traffic. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Scott Jennings here. I'm excited to be part of the St. Louis conservative conversation, cutting through the noise with unfiltered common sense. Catch the Scott Jennings Show weekdays at 8 p.m. starting August 25th on 97.1 FM Talk.
Yeah, very excited to have Jennings as a part of the official lineup. He's been the unofficial part of the lineup for a long time here on my show. That starts 1 week from tonight. Great rave reviews on the michaelsflooringoutlet.com or the igotfloored.com website from Sharon, who says, to say my salesman Mike and the team went above and beyond to help me find and install carpet in a timely manner would be an understatement. His professionalism, attention to detail, and genuine care made the entire process smooth and stress-free. I truly appreciate his dedication and exceptional customer service. He made a potentially overwhelming task enjoyable, and it kind of is enjoyable. And I'm glad that Sharon said that, because carpeting and flooring projects can be fun. I had one that Mike and the team went to work on last fall. They knocked it out of the park so well that we took a little of the extra product and we put it in a portion in the basement where my bunny's hutch is and where we walk out to the hot tub. It was a great move. It looks fantastic. And yes, they took great care of us the same way they'll take great care of you. Their website has everything that you can ever want. All the promos, the products, there's reviews up there. You can apply for financing, get some inspiration, or just head into one of the 3 great locations. They're open every day except for Sundays in Old Town St. Peters, in Darden Prairie, and in Creve Coeur on Olive. The website again, igotfloor.com from Michael's Flooring Outlet. outlet.
If you've listened to 97.1 FM Talk, you've heard of Doug Voss of Voss Financial and Safe Money Radio, as he has been a staple as the financial expert on the station for many years. You can hear him on Safe Money Radio every Saturday at 2, right here on 97.1 FM Talk, and you can talk to Doug Voss directly. Here's his number. Call Doug at 844-676-SAFE. That is 844-676-7233. Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through DHL Securities, LLLP, member FINRA and SIPC.
6 iconic names, 2 bobbleheads, 1 unforgettable night. Join us Friday, September 5th as the Cardinals face off with the Giants and celebrate the 1985 National League Championship. That night, 20,000 fans 16 and older will take home one of 2 1985 triple bobbleheads, courtesy of Coca-Cola and Deerbirds. Whether it's the legendary Coleman, McGee, and Smith, or the iconic Tudor, Cox, and Andujar, you won't want to miss your chance to get this unique triple bobblehead. Tickets are available at cardinals.com/promotions.
Head to the stadium on Saturday, September 6th, where the Birds host the Giants. 20,000 fans, 16 and older, will score a limited edition Hall of Fame baseball card shirt, thanks to Edward Jones. This all-over print shirt features McGee, Porsche, Tudor, Coleman, the Wizard, Whitey, and her. It's a giveaway you won't want to miss. That's Saturday, September 6th. Get tickets today at cardinals.com/promotions.
This is Willie McGee, St. Louis Cardinals for the Loop.
Your biggest choice in home restoration is, who do you trust with your home, your most valued asset? Few can match Banner Construction's experience and dedication to excellence. Banner is an elite preferred James Hardy contractor and Pella Window specialist. Restoration is a one-time opportunity to have Banner's design team show you architectural options to make your home the neighborhood showcase. Call for a free consultation, 314-569-1050. Now hiring qualified carpenters.
If you want thick, healthy, gorgeous hair, then you need Hair Volume from New Nordic. Available as a tablet or a delicious gummy, Hair Volume is available online at Amazon and newnordicusa.com or in the hair care aisle at your local CVS.
Reardon's back. Smarter talk for the Show Me State. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Well, before we get to baseball, Scotty Scheffler, just these guys are so good, and Scheffler in particular, he's 4 shots down at the BMW Championship. This certainly didn't hurt. It was an 82-foot chip shot.
Look at Scheffler. Can you believe what you just saw? Bobby Mack can't.
Frank Cusumano is here as an 82-foot chip on the 17th, the hardest hole at Caves Valley. It lands 60 feet short, rolls the rest of the way. It goes in, and that's his 5th PGA Tour title this year. Frank, I remember watching Tommy Fleetwood compete last weekend. That poor guy has had all these top 3 finishes, top 5 finishes, top 20 finishes, never won on the PGA Tour, and Scotty Scheffler's won 5 times this year.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, that call by Dan Hicks, maybe he was channeling his inner Jack Buck. I can't believe what I just saw.
Yeah.
A beautiful call. And here's the thing, Mark, in his last 33 tournaments, he's won 14 times. I mean, the only guy I can think of that ever had a run like that is named Tiger Woods. And he likely won't ever get to Tiger Woods' career majors or his charisma, but he's the closest thing to it. And how could anybody think that anybody else could win the Tour Championship next week in Atlanta than Scotty Scheffler?
Now, sometimes I get confused about this. If he doesn't win that tournament, he can still win the championship because of the point system. Is that accurate?
It is, and it's a convoluted way, and I don't know the actual numbers,
right.
I don't know if we'll have to add them up. I think he's just going to flat out win it.
I think you might be right about that. Well, let's talk about the Cardinals. They didn't do a lot of winning over the weekend, did they?
No, it was brutal. And you've now lost 5 in a row, and you're headed to Miami, and Brendan Donovan is on the injured list. That just happened earlier today. It's about as bleak as it possibly could be. I mean, that was just rough yesterday. You had this beautiful moment where Joel Pozo hits the home run with his son's face on the knob of his bat after promising kids at Mercy Hospital that he was going to hit a home run, and he hit it. And you think, oh my gosh, this is a great story. And yet they find a way to lose with 2 costly errors by Thomas Saggese in the 9th inning. Yeah, it's rough. 3 games under 500 too.
Yeah, you mentioned Brendan Donovan going to the injured list, yet we've seen very little of Donnie here over the past week. I know he had one start in there, I think in the Colorado series. He had, of course, the big pinch hit, the 2-run double against Colorado as well. But in large part, we haven't really seen him. And the Cardinals, Frank, why wait this long to put Donnie on the injured list and as a result play with a short bench?
Yeah, that's something it's a legitimate criticism of the organization, because like groin injuries are like hamstring injuries. They just linger and linger. And, he's such a gamer. He probably had something to do with it. But if you would have shut it down earlier, you'd have him back quicker. Let me give you my quick Brendan Donovan theory, if I could. If Brendan Donovan is your best player, you're not going to be a great team. I mean, he is a good player. He should be your fourth best player. And unfortunately, in the Cardinals, if you put the whole package together, it's either he or Mason Wentz. He's your best player. So I love him on my team. I don't love him being your best player.
What are the realistic? I mean, this gets way ahead of the conversation, but look, you need at least one player on this team that could hit like 30+ home runs, and we just don't have that.
No, and that's why I said, Mark, I remember at the beginning of the year, this is the first time I've ever headed into a Cardinal season in my 3 decades covering the team where I think they have no chance to win. I got to tell you something. Next year is going to be my second year doing that. Right. Things are not going to change this offseason unless all of a sudden Bill DeWitt says, you know what, I want to spend, $150 million. I'm going to bring in a 30 home run hitter and a guy who can win 15 games. The likelihood of that happening is not real
that's
strong.
That's kind of sad, unfortunately.
It is. And so what we're going to have to hope is that the learning curves for J.J. Weatherholt and Mr. Doyle, Liam Doyle, are expedited. And, look, Skeens got to the big leagues in 11 months. Can we do the same with Doyle? And how quickly can J.J. Weatherholt hit 310 with 25 home runs in the big leagues?
You bring up J.J. Weatherholt, and that brings up my next question. Jose Fermin is the Cardinal that is brought up as a result of Donnie going on the injured list. And boy, you look on Twitter, it doesn't take long to see Cardinal fans unhappy that Weatherholt, who has been mashing at AAA through 26 games, not up at the big league level yet. I personally am okay with the Cardinals taking their time with him, but I want to know your thoughts on when you would like to see J.J. Weatherholt up with the big league club, Frank.
Well, I'd like to see him in the lineup tonight in Miami. But what the Cardinals are thinking right now is that, and I think everybody's kind of familiar with this, is you start the clock ticking if you bring him up now. So you would blow that year. He could become a free agent a year earlier if you bring him up now. And I think that's clearly the thinking with J.J. Weatherholt. Or they may think, you know what, I want him to get some more Triple League at-bats. I got a feeling, though, he could probably hit better than Jose Fermin. Maybe that's just me, but I think he could.
We went into the weekend wondering if we'd even see Paul Goldschmidt on the field because of an injury. He did get on the field. He did quite well, I think, this weekend, unfortunately, didn't he?
Well, I'm really glad you brought that up because the one thing, there's not as many Cardinal fans as there used to be. They averaged 30,000 for the weekend, which is solid, but not great. But those 30,000 fans, or how many were there yesterday, gave him just an incredible ovation. He had to step away for a split second because you felt like there was a tear in his eye, and he deserved it. He's an MVP, classy guy. And I was worried that he wasn't going to get a chance to have the moment because he came into the game for defensive purposes, but it's not quite the same.
No.
It's the at-bat where the catcher comes out, kind of stops the game, and it was really, really cool.
It's pretty awesome. He deserved it for sure. We miss him here in St. Louis. Frank, we will talk to you on Friday afternoon.
Okay, guys. Thank you so much. Take care.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
We've got a couple of serious jams going on this afternoon. One of those is because of an accident involving a rollover vehicle. Northbound 270 past Doherty Ferry. The 4 left lanes are blocked, and we've got a parking lot jam back past 44. Well, southbound drivers are slowing for a look, and they are slowing back through Olive. Well, now we've got an accident reported on the Interbelt, and this is just north of the Forest Park Parkway. Traffic jammed in both directions. There was also an accident earlier on 44 near the Poplar Street Bridge. And eastbound 44 is jammed back past the 55 split, but westbound looks better at the bridge. Now, if you're headed into Illinois, there's heavy traffic coming off the Poplar eastbound as you head toward the 70 split, and then things improve. This report is brought to you by Overhead Door Company of St. Louis. Your garage door is always there for you, rain or shine. Are you taking it for granted? Is it screeching and whining for attention? For same-day service, call 314-781-5200 or schedule online overheaddoorstlewis.com. I'm Sue Thomas with traffic. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
This report is sponsored by Overhead Door Company of St. Louis.
Hey, I want you to get a free estimate on a Generac home standby generator from Generator Supercenter of St. Louis. They're the nation's #1 Generac generator dealer. There's a big difference in what Generator Supercenter does and competitors. The competitors try to cheap out a lot. For example, they only use copper wire. A lot of the competitors, sometimes it's HVAC companies, etc., they use aluminum wire to save money. Scrap wire, that's not a good thing. They are called Generator Supercenter for repairs or maintenance for generators that were not installed properly, sometimes dangerously installed. Many of the competitors, again, are electricians, HVAC, or plumbing contractors that also sell generators. Generator Supercenters, this is all they do. They sell, they install, they maintain, they monitor Generac automatic standby generators, and you can get a free estimate right now. They do have a retail-facing store on the Airport Road in Chesterfield. You cannot put a price on the peace of mind you get during a bad storm or during an ice storm. We know how badly the situation went here in the spring with the tornado. So stop by the showroom or call 314-499-2020. Do not wait for the next storm or outage. Call Generator Supercenter for a free estimate on a Generac home standby generator. 499-2020. Generator Supercenter of St. Louis.com.
Rolling hot dogs 2 for $5 on a fluffy bun. All beef hot dogs rolling in. Hurry, cause they're on the run. Pick your toppings anyway. Roll into this deal. Pick your 2, big Q2. Rolling makes a meal. Mustard relish, sauerkraut. Ain't no need to scream and shout. Get 2 all beef hot dogs and a big Q for $5. Only at QT. More than a gas station.
This could be very interesting. Jen Say and her director for this movie that's called Generation COVID, Andrew James, is the director. Coming up after Fox News.
KFTK FM Florissant from the Kaufman Townsley St. Louis's Injury Lawyers Studio. Call 314-500-5000.
That's 314-500-5000.
All on the free Odyssey app.
He wants a full peace deal. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. President Trump says he won't be satisfied with just a ceasefire between Russia and Ukraine.
Several European leaders joined Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky here, calling themselves a coalition of the willing in pursuit of a just and lasting peace.
How to be sure that it won't happen again, which is the precondition of every kind of peace.
Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni and European leaders say they support a security guarantee similar to NATO. President Trump says there must also be discussion of potential swaps of territory.
Ultimately, this is a decision that can only be made by President Zelensky and by the people of Ukraine.
President Trump says he is pushing for a trilateral meeting between himself, Zelensky, and Russian President Vladimir Putin.
Fox's Jared Halpern at the White House. At the conclusion of the meeting, EU Commission President Ursula von der Leyen said that we are here as allies and friends for peace in Ukraine and in Europe, calling it an important moment as we continue to work on strong security guarantees for Ukraine. President Trump is proposing an end to mail-in voting.
We're going to start with an executive order that's being written right now by the best lawyers in the country to end mail-in ballots because they're corrupt.
Mail-in ballots are used by about a third of all voters. The Constitution puts states in charge of the time, place, and manner of elections while allowing Congress to make or alter rules for federal elections. Even though it's expected to stay offshore, Hurricane Erin is impacting parts of Florida.
This is a massive storm, so even though it's hundreds of miles away, the rough surf is likely to last all the way through Thursday. 7 to 10 foot swells are expected in areas like St. Augustine, where they have the red flags already posted.
Fox Weather's Steve Bender in St. Augustine, Florida. Tourists on a couple of barrier islands on North Carolina's Outer Banks have been evacuated. America's listening to Fox News.
Hey, listen to this. All I needed was a new starter. Got a great deal on eBay. Did it myself.
Yeah, that's cool. But how about the soft purr of an upgraded exhaust when it fits just right?
For me, it's the little things, like these new windshield wipers from eBay I installed.
From small fixes to big upgrades, eBay has all the parts you need. at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. eBay. Things people love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
You hear that? That's Mike sleeping soundly on a Sunday night. That's because Mike was smart this time. He took ZQL Ultra to fall asleep fast, stay asleep longer, and get the deeply restorative sleep he needs. So now he wakes up refreshed and ready to conquer Mondays.
Let's do this Monday.
ZQL Ultra. Not for colds, just for sleep. Really great sleep. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation. Weather.
The summer bake continues for any evening plans in the 90s. It's very humid, maybe a spot thunderstorm. Pretty tough to find, but could bring a downpour of rain and a little bit of lightning. Otherwise, mostly clear skies, only 78 for the low. Tuesday, partly sunny, hot and humid. Couple of spotty thunderstorms, 95, 74 Tuesday night. Couple of storms here and there. Wednesday, partly sunny, still a chance of some spot storms. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
This hour of the Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts. This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
Well, right now we're not getting a whole lot of what happened at this meeting with Zelensky and all of the Western European leaders. It wrapped about, I think, a half an hour ago is when we first started getting the reporting, and there's not a lot coming on right now. So we'll see if there's any kind of news conference or anything like that. We'll certainly take you to that as soon as possible. John Seiler is going to join us at the bottom of the hour. John has always been a great guest here the past few years at exposing some of the DEI nonsense that goes on out there. He's the director of higher education policy and a senior fellow at the Manhattan Institute. He has written a very interesting piece about the Justice Department cracking down on universities, and he always brings the goods. He brings the receipts, which I always love. So he's coming up at the bottom of the hour. We have an audio cut of the day as well. Jen Say is back with us this afternoon, the founder and CEO of XXXY Athletics, a U.S. champion gymnast. We've talked about her Emmy Award-winning documentary film Athlete A on Netflix. She's got a new movie that she took part in here called Generation COVID. And I believe Andrew James, the co-director of the film, is also with us. Jen, are you there? This is unusual to have two guests on at the same time. I'm going to make sure the technology is working. Testing 1, 2, 3. Are you there, Jen Say?
I am here.
How are you? And then
Thank
I think we have Andrew. Andrew, are you there as well?
I'm here. Thank you, Mark.
Well, thank you for coming on with me. I think this is an important topic. Now, first of all, just in case I don't know the latest, is this a film that people can access and watch right now, or is it coming out?
They cannot. Not yet.
Not
we
yet.
did release no, not yet. We released a trailer maybe 2 weeks ago that we put on X. That's gotten a really great response, which is probably why you reached out. But the film is not available yet. And in fact, we're still looking for distribution.
Yeah, that was going to be one of my questions, because, with a topic like this that should get a lot of distribution and a lot of, attention, I wonder how much the legacy media will give you any kind of love, especially you, Jen, just because they know where you are on the women's rights issue, which shouldn't be controversial. But I do wonder how much, attention you might get. But these things, and Andrew, you can weigh in here as well, sometimes they take on a bit of an organic nature. And if we get the word out enough about this film, people are going to want to see it, right?
For sure. And the response has shown that there's a huge audience for the film. But of course, the legacy media, who knows how they're going to respond. We hope that someone will want to put this out. But if not, that's okay, because we've got other things working. We've got other things we're figuring out, and the film will be released no matter what.
Yeah, because you can go a theatrical route for maybe a short run, or you can just go right to streaming, depending on where you get the distribution. And streaming seems to be where it's at, and that might be the best choice for a movie like this, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think we're planning on, or hoping for a large streamer being willing to take us on. Athlete A, the film that I produced and that came out in 2020, that was on Netflix. Now it was COVID, so it was never going to be in the theaters. It was supposed to be. But that can guarantee a really large audience. I mean, for me and Andrew, the goal is that we're not just preaching to the choir here, but that we're reaching a really large audience, and that people have the opportunity to sort of go back in time, re-experience what we all experienced and maybe see it through a different lens and perhaps reevaluate the stance they had taken back then. I mean, we made it for a broad audience. That's sort of the point. So yeah, but I think you're right. My brand doesn't help us necessarily. I got myself good and canceled not once, not twice, but 3 times. But I think the quality of the film speaks for itself. I mean, it's so beautifully done. Andrew's done an incredible job. He was not just directing it with me, but the cinematographer, and he's the editor. And it's of such high quality. And the fact is, we haven't heard directly from the children. We haven't heard from them. And I think people should hear it, and they deserve to be heard.
Back in the spring when the Jake Tapper book was getting all that attention on Biden, David Zweig put a book out called An Abundance of Caution. I've gotten to know David a little bit. And one of the things that I've said repeatedly on this show is that book, David Zweig's book, and I don't know if you guys play into that at all or if you've spoken with David, is more important than any book about Biden because it really does dig in deep on the stupid crap that we allowed to have happen 5 years ago and beyond, and especially what happened to these kids. And that's what I'm assuming that this documentary focuses in on, because I still talk to teachers. My daughter entered 5th grade today, but teachers will tell you that, they've seen this in person. These, my son's a teacher. There are these groups of kids, especially some of the younger kids, that just still have not caught up. And there's almost like a reaction in the legacy media, like none of this stuff ever happened, and that we shouldn't be ashamed of it, and that we shouldn't try to correct it if it happens in the future. So, Andrew, I'll start with you on that. Why was this movie so important to make? And I don't know if you spoke with David or there's crossover themes there, but I'm curious about that.
Yeah, David plays a very large role in the film. He's great. He's one of our major voices. And what he did for his book definitely comes across in the film as well. We explore some of those topics with him. And we made the film because we don't want it to happen again. And I think there is a concern that it could happen again, or something similar could happen again. And I think it's important that a lot of us look back and have this conversation as a country so that we can sort of ask the right questions next time.
Jen, is that your motivation as well? I know you're passionate about this. We've talked about it before.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And, David, as Andrew mentioned, is fantastic in the film. He's a key voice. His voice is also very important, as he was one of the only journalists who was writing about the topic in real time. And so what he experienced in trying to get stories placed, et cetera, the censorship that was happening, he also conveys that quite clearly in the film. But yeah, absolutely. If we don't assess what happened, we are destined to make the same mistakes again. And the vast majority of people want to memory hole it because almost everyone was complicit, at least at the very beginning.
How did you address the issue of, I don't want to say teachers, because I think a lot of teachers were on the right side of this, but the teachers union and the leadership, which were holding up signs, in the summer of 2020, you're just going to kill our teachers, right? That was one of the allegations that was made by the union, that if these kids, and I remember very specifically 5 years ago when my daughter was going into kindergarten, to say, look, these younger kids in particular need to be back in the class. But there was a refusal on the part of public health officials, on the part of a lot of elected officials, to separate what was happening with younger people compared to people certainly over the age of 70 and 75, because it's not even close to the way. And I'll admit, I think we can all admit that this was a very serious virus and we didn't know much about it, but we got to know some things about it pretty early on and didn't adjust the things that we were doing in society to keep people locked down.
Yeah, I think the teachers' unions played a huge role in advocating for schools to stay closed. And we actually know that's a fact. And David talks about that in his book, and he talks about it in the film. So teachers' unions are explored in the film, and we do talk about their role in sort of parroting the sound bites that were coming from the media. And along the same lines, the media plays a large role in the film. They're sort of a villain in the film. You see how they're driving the narrative, and I think are very much to blame for impacting people's views on what should happen.
Oh, I think so too.
Yeah.
Jen, I know you agree with that, right? I mean,
yeah, I hold special sort of disdain for the media's role in it. I mean, the media is supposed to be the fourth estate. They never interrogated the issues. They did not hold power to account. They They repeated government-issued talking points, and Big Pharma issued talking points as if that was journalism. You know, a case could be made, and we do cover the teachers' union's role, and it's not just that they were very resistant to opening the schools. They actually influenced the school opening guidelines. They got them changed from what the CDC. Randy Weingarten met with Jill Biden. So that's all covered in the film. One could argue the teachers' unions represent the teachers and they were just, you know, doing what they thought was best for the teachers. But public health is also, I would argue, a bit villainous in the film. Andrew, I don't know if you agree. I think you agree with that. But public health and the media, and then, you know, the governors in the large blue states. The public schools in blue states were closed for 18 months. People like to say it was only a few months. It was 18 months, and they were onerously restricted for about another year and a half after that. So half of America's public school children experienced disrupted schooling for 3 years.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And look, I've always said that we got off pretty easy here, even though my daughter started with, you know, me supervising her Zoom calls in kindergarten. By the end of September, I think that she was finally in school. I mean, they had a mask up and all that nonsense, but we got very lucky around here compared to blue states, Illinois, just, you know, across the river. And that was certainly a good thing. However, do you speak with, Andrew? I'm very curious. Do you speak with parents that might have been all in on the mask up stuff and some of the other nonsense that have regrets now, that kind of take a look back? I mean, we were keeping people from the beaches in Florida and, well, certainly in Los Angeles, not Florida. There were people that were pissed off if you would run in Central Park, run, jog, ride a bike, and you didn't have a mask on. I mean, some of this stuff is just comical when you look back at it.
Absolutely. It's completely comical. And I think that's why a lot of people want to forget about it. Because I think probably feel a little embarrassed for what they did. You know, we did talk to some parents who at first were more concerned about COVID, but they quickly realized that the impacts on their children not being in school were far more dangerous than the risks from getting COVID.
Yeah, those were the, you know, as I remember it, the way it was unfurling was very interesting, especially someone like me who talks about issues on a regular basis. And female engagement, the mama bears, that was at an all-time high. I don't know if we'll ever see anything like it, because there were a lot of, and this kind of crossed over. I don't know how much you do in the movie. It crossed over into some of the sports issues, because it was one thing that, you know, keeping kids out of school, but then you were keeping them from being active, and you were making kids as young as my daughter's age, you know, 6 or 7 years old, wear masks when they were playing basketball and volleyball and things like that. It was lunacy.
Yeah, we do touch on that. And in fact, so we feature about 6 or 7 young people in the film, teenagers mostly, because they were able to kind of express what they had gone through. And 2 of them were high school athletes and very much hoping for a scholarship to college, counting on it. In fact, both come from sort of lower income background, and they were counting on football scholarships, and they had to watch their peers in private schools compete into 2021 and even some in 2020, and, you know, play and get recruited for college while they were not permitted to do so. And most of the families in the film actually come from more of a left-leaning background. There's a reason for that, because we focused on states where schools were closed the longest. So those are blue states. And most of these parents, to answer your earlier question to Andrew, did start out kind of on board with everything. And exactly as Andrew said, they saw the harms very quickly. And so they spoke out and faced a ton of pushback and censorship in their communities.
So the film is called Generation COVID. You're still looking for some distribution. The trailer is out there right now. What's a best case scenario, do you think, to get us all to see this film sooner than later?
You're going to see it in the next few months, you're going to see it in the next few months. Andrew and I are very committed to that.
If I can help in any way, I just think this is such an important topic. And by the way, here's just a side note. I don't know if you saw this, Jen or Andrew. So last week I had a reporter on that sometimes contributes to the show, Jessica Kotescu, and she writes for the Free Beacon. And she took it upon herself to go to the Democrat Socialists of America conference in Chicago last weekend, right? And you had to have a ticket. You had to have party membership. This is my favorite line. Attendees were also required to submit proof of a negative COVID test prior. That was last week. That wasn't in 2023 or 2022. It was last week in Chicago. There you go.
Yeah, it's become sort of a cultural thing. It's sort of, and that's really disappointing. And there's a lot of talk on the left about how this has all been politicized. And we're like, yeah, you guys politicized it. And like, you're still clean to it all these years later.
Do you speak with any of the blue state governors or mayors that put some of this stuff into play or not?
We don't speak with them in the film, but they are very present. There is plenty of footage available, and we let them sort of hang themselves, I guess.
I can't wait to see it. Thank you guys for coming on here. Jen, I'm such a big fan. It's funny. We had this situation at our MLS game a couple of weeks ago where there was a guy that had a MAGA hat on and he got escorted from the building. He was not allowed to have, this is an MLS rule, something that was political. And my wife went to the next weekend's game and she was proudly wearing her XXXY hat. And I was wondering if that hat might even get her into trouble, but they kind of cooled off on the policy, Jen. But it did kind of come to mind because I thought, well, this will be interesting because it's a brand, but somebody could probably make the ridiculous claim that that's a political statement, right?
Certainly. They could make any ridiculous yes,
and they
can make any ridiculous claim, that they want. Well, thanks to your wife for wearing it, and thank you so much for having us. And if any of your viewers want to demand that a mainstream streamer take us on, we would be more than happy to hear it.
Is it generationcovidfilm.com if you want to see the trailer?
Yes, or either of our X accounts have it up. But yeah, that's the film's website, and you can look to the film's website for updates as to when we'll release it.
Well, keep me posted. I'm all over it, so I appreciate it. I'm a fan. Thank you, Jen. Thank you, Andrew. Good luck.
Thank you, Mark.
Okay.
We appreciate it.
Yeah, take care. And I hope it's not. Here's the one thing that I wish. Who was I talking to the other day? Somebody who convinced a friend of theirs to watch The Fall of Minneapolis that Liz Collin did and helped produce and direct in Minneapolis in the aftermath of the George Floyd situation. And this is what the challenge that I've had, and they never really got good distribution on that. You can watch it online. All you would have to do is watch the first 10 minutes of that documentary, and you would say to yourself, I can't even believe what I'm seeing right now. Why didn't the legacy media show me all this at the time? That's why what Jen said about the media is so important, because a lot of these things, if the media was doing its job, would not have happened. And I always point to this situation in the summer of 2021. Here I was, and I was very interested in getting, all of us back to normalcy. I did my show for an entire year in the basement of my home. And then I got back when I switched over to 97.1. I was on KMOX at the time. So 2021, it would have been the spring of 21. June comes around, they're rolling out the vaccines. I am asked if I would like to participate in a campaign. I'm now going to be paid to do a campaign to promote the vaccine in the summer of 2021, because as an idiot, and I said this, and I remember beating up on a listener who has every right in the world to hate my guts, because somebody said on a call-in show that I was doing here, I think on 97.1, oh, you just don't get it. You don't understand what's really happening. The people are in the hospital that have this. They've had the vaccine. There were people making the claim, and I'm pretty sure I even said this, that this was a vaccine. I'm sorry, it was a virus of the unvaccinated, right? Well, that was not the case. So here I start doing some messaging in June of 2021 for the vaccine with the Missouri Department of Health, and I'm promoting it. I think it's the right thing to do. As we get into the latter part of July, the whole narrative on that thing has changed. And I noticed that it had changed, and I was not comfortable with some of the things that I was being asked to say on the air to promote for people to get the vaccine. And I went to the agency that was working with the Department of Health. I actually tried to go through my salesperson here at 97.1, who's no longer here, and I was met with some resistance. So I did an end run. And I said, I went right to the agency. I said, guys, these talking points need to be updated. My reputation is on the line. The things that I'm telling the audience right now are simply not true. You remember the claim that if you got the vaccine, you couldn't, transmit it to somebody else. Well, all of that was not true. There were so many things that weren't true. And in the end, I was, this is a former employee of Odyssey, but it became a big deal. And somehow, some way, I was the bad guy in all of that, even though I was trying to make sure that the messaging about the vaccine was accurate. There was no willingness at that point on the part of a particular ad agency, a sales rep here at this station, and the state of Missouri and the CDC to adjust any messaging, because I don't think they knew what they were getting into at the time. And that was embarrassing. It's embarrassing for me that I had to take part in that episode, but I tried to correct it. But I was stunned by the unwillingness to correct the narrative, even though it was so clear that it was inaccurate.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Well, the biggest issue on the roads this afternoon has been an accident on northbound 270 past Doherty Ferry. And it unfortunately involved a rollover. And we've got the 4 left lanes blocked, and this has left us with a huge jam back through 44. Then there was a stall at Doherty Ferry itself, but that's off on the shoulder. That did not help. Southbound 270 is now heavy and slow from Olive on down, even though no southbound lanes are blocked. Now, the other jam is on the Illinois side, eastbound 5564, crossing the Poplar to about the 70 split, more like Exchange. And eastbound 64 is lined up again, 157 through 159. Back on the Missouri side, it's not too bad out west, but 70 looks better than 64 if you're making a choice. I'm Sue Thomas with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Wait, hang on here. I missed something at the beginning. What was the deal on 44? Just for my personal knowledge? Yeah, did you say something about 44? Okay, then I just misheard it.
Okay.
Oh, thank goodness. Keep 44 clear.
Oh, I know what it was, Mark. The jam on northbound 270 is back to 44.
Got it. Well,
Yes.
see, I didn't completely imagine it. There you go. Thank you, Sue. Appreciate it. Let me talk about Banner Construction, Bill Kaufman, Sam P. They have a great company here in St. Louis, and it's amazing. They do some great work for homeowners who really want to make their home the best looking home in the neighborhood. They specialize in the best products available. James Hardy Fiber Cement Siding, which if you go online to bannerconstruction.com, you want to find out what premium siding and maybe some replacement windows like Pella replacement windows can do for your home. They're the ones that can prove it to you. And when you go with big names like Pella and with James Hardy, you want to go with a big name that's been doing this for a long time. And that's Banner Construction. They have a tab at the top of their website, which is called the Showcase. If you click on that, there's also a Hardy siding tab. There's a blog. You can find out more about what the company overall does. But you can see homes all across the area. O'Fallon, Creve Coeur, the city of St. Louis, Webster Groves, Chesterfield, Baldwin, you name it. Homes that have been transformed with beautiful colors. They come in an amazing assortment of styles and colors, and obviously price points as well. Banner loves to tie it all together for you. Invite them over to your home, 314-569-1050. It's a free in-home design consultation, and the website is bannerconstruction.com, and have a banner day.
We, without hesitation, recommend that anybody work with ThrottleNet. The experience will be as good as it's been for us, for anybody, because you'll get a true partnership, and you'll be able to rest easy that you're going to get the service that you need, while they're also doing all those things that you don't want to have to think about, that you don't want to have to worry about. They're always doing that in the background for you.
Don't wait for your next IT crisis. If your business depends on technology, you need a partner that's got your back. Contact ThrottleNet.com to get a free IT evaluation and see how we can support your IT everything.
Don't get lulled into believing the IRS is getting soft. It's just the opposite. Hi, this is Lance Story with the Lance Story Law Firm. We are being told by IRS collection officers that their higher-ups are demanding that they get more aggressive than ever. So don't ignore them any longer. Level up. If you have unfiled returns, unpaid taxes, levies, or liens, call the Lance Story Law Firm today and let us get between you and the IRS. We'll protect your rights, including your right to appeal or even your right to take the IRS to tax court. Remember, IRS problems are legal problems, and they need to be handled by an expert attorney team who's done it for decades. So call the Lance Story Law Firm today. We're local. Our office is right here in St. Louis, or visit Lance, DRURY, law.com to schedule your free consultation with your local tax resolution law firm, the Lance Story Law Firm, 314-260-6120.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
Men, need a clinic that accepts all insurance, including Medicare? U.S. Men's Medical Center in St. Peters does. U.S. Men's helps men experiencing loss of energy, focus, concentration, and low libido. And they accept all insurance, even Medicare, for testosterone replacement therapy. Patients love the staff and the fact that, yes, I'm going to say it again, they accept all insurance, including Medicare. Feel better? Call U.S. Men's Medical Center at 636-244-5333.
Ouch! Check from behind. Man, that's gotta hurt.
I'd hire Morgan & Morgan if I were them.
What?
Yeah, Dan, America's largest injury law firm.
They serve up justice, ice, cold, law. Know what I mean? I guess. Their gloves come off when they fight for you. Okay. I'm talking a settlement slap shot. Shouldn't we be talking about the game? Yeah, Dan. Morgan & Morgan.
Proud partner of the St. Louis Blues. Injured? Dial Pound Law or visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
Calling all future sportscasters. Sharpen your skills and learn from the best of the Missouri Broadcasters Association Sportscasters Forum, Tuesday, September 16th in St. Louis. Join Cardinals beat reporters, broadcasters, and the legendary John Rooney, the voice of the Cardinals, for insider sessions on play-by-play, interviewing, reporting, and more. Then cap the day with a Cards-Reds game at Busch Stadium. Open to college students and broadcasting pros. Just $10 for students, lunch, and a game ticket. Space is limited. Register by September 2nd at Missouri Broadcasters.org.
What would you give for a child you loved? To make their wish come true? To help them fight a critical illness? Just imagine what you'd do. You see, wishes are so powerful, and you can make them real. They can give a child back their childhood, even change the way they feel. Every single one of us can make the stars align. Because when we come together, hope and joy will shine. Wishes need stars like you. Visit Make-A-Wish@wish.org.
He's not here to play nice. He's here to make you think. Mark Reardon on 97.1 FM Talk.
I have very often expressed my my love for the free press, Barry Weiss's organization, the FP.com, because they do good independent journalism. They do reporting that you're not going to see in the Washington Post, the New York Times, and elsewhere. And I thought this was really, really interesting. And it's another example, and we chronicle them time and time again, of some of the media nonsense that goes on out there. And here yet again is another example. Olivia Reingold wrote this with Tanya Yanova, and we know Olivia. She's been a guest on this show. We might try to get her on tomorrow. But this has to do with a photo that was in the New York Times of this 18-month-old baby in Gaza on the front page of the paper. Mohammed Zakaria Ayub al-Matuk, who was the symbol for this story that was about widespread hunger in Gaza, wasn't you were led to believe that it was just because of the evil Israelis and U.S. This poor kid who's 18 months old is starving. The only reason is because of the war against Hamas, and U.S. bad, Israel bad. But here's the deal. And this has happened time and time again. And this is so amazing, this reporting. And this is where I give the Free Press a lot of credit. And some of you might have heard about this, but I'm guessing most of you have not heard about this particular story. This young boy was not simply suffering from malnutrition. He had pre-existing health issues affecting his brain and his muscle development, according to an updated version of the story. But that didn't make it into print. So they did that as more of an editor's note, and they always hide that, and they did it 4 days later. It also quietly deleted the mother's claim that her son was born a healthy child. There was still no mention of the boy's brother, who appears healthy in the background of another photo that appeared online. And this was not just a one-off. So here's what Olivia and her fellow reporters say. An investigation by the Free Press reveals that at least a dozen other viral images of starvation in Gaza also lacked important context. The subjects of these photos have significant health problems. Those appeared all over social media in the reports of leading international aid organizations, some of the most prestigious news outlets. You want to take a guess at what they were? CNN, NPR, the New York Times, without disclosing the complicated medical histories that help explain their stark appearances. It's misleading. It's lying. It's journalistic malpractice. Now, the reporting in the Free Press admits there's hunger. Okay, you have the World Health Organization reporting that there were 63 deaths from malnutrition last month alone, including 25 children. Okay, fair enough. If you want to go back to 2022, before there was a war, 50 Gazans under the age of 20 died from malnutrition, according to health experts there. So you have somebody in this story who is cited by the name of Yanni Spitzer, who's an economist at the Hebrew University of Jerusalem, who's been tracking food prices in Gaza the past few months. And he says that hunger in Gaza is declining largely since Israel resumed aid deliveries in late May after the 80-day blockade. In mid-July, for basic necessities like flour, the prices skyrocketed, according to his review of the data from the Gaza Chamber of Commerce and the World Food Program. And the quote in this story is, if a situation like that lasts more than a few days, a lot of people will go hungry, but not starve to death en masse. That's the beginning of a process which the media portrays as already at the catastrophic end stage, but it never happened. Now, he does say food prices are 15 times higher than peacetime, but they're nowhere near their high point earlier this summer. It's very different from the Ethiopian-like famine pictures that readers in the West were led to believe. We've all seen the commercials. But those photos have been used in reckless and irresponsible and journalistically malpractice ways to convince Americans that Israel, in fact, has induced famine and is committing war crimes in Gaza. So they did a survey at something called the Data for Progress Center. Nearly half of the voters surveyed, they said that they believe Israel is committing genocide against the Palestinian people. In the Free Press article, they went line by line, child by child. Mariam Dawas, this is in a UNICEF ad soliciting donations. This is a 9-year-old girl who sits on a hospital bed staring off into space. Her collarbone protrudes underneath the pink T-shirt that she has on. When she takes a deep breath, she darts her eyes around as if strained. And it says that she's been suffering from malnutrition for a year and a half. And there's a message that's flashing up on the screen. It says all children under 5 in the Gaza Strip are at risk of acute malnutrition. But this young girl is not typical. In fact, her mother suspected that her daughter was suffering from a serious illness that local doctors were struggling to diagnose. And she spoke about her battle to get answers in a video that was uploaded to another account, an Instagram account that has 500,000 followers. And she says, I suspect that Miriam has had another problem besides malnutrition. I suspect my daughter has a condition that no one understands here in Gaza. So that's one of the cases. They have another one. The Guardian, which is a lefty publication overseas. July 29th, you woke up to an image of a bony spine of a toddler named Yusuf Matar as he was cradled by his mother. And the headline is Famine Underway in Gaza. UN-backed experts say. That's always the warning sign. Whenever you see experts, that's big warning sign. So the caption says, displaced Palestinian mother Samar Matar holds her malnourished son Yusuf in Gaza City. Reuters used the same image, displaced Palestinian mother. But the problem is he suffers from cerebral palsy. And that came out. Then they go on down. They have 3 other kids here who had different issues. It was all blamed on malnutrition. It was blamed on Israel and, of course, the U.S. But the problem is there's other issues in nearly every situation here. So the New York Times goes out there with their correction, right, which barely anyone reads. They do a community note. And they don't do it on their main New York Times page. They do it on something else. So nobody really knows the difference. And then if you don't look at the Free Press, or you don't know about the Free Press, and you don't know about what really is happening out here, you don't know about the journalistic malpractice that's taking place.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Well, we've had a big issue on the roads this afternoon on northbound 270 past Doherty Ferry. And it was a vehicle, it's an accident, but the vehicle itself rolled over. One of them did. And now we've gone from 4 left lanes blocked to 2. So things are improving along there, but you're still jammed on northbound 270 back to 44. And that's making a dent. It's really causing a delay for those drivers eastbound 44 trying to ramp on to northbound 270, but it is getting better. Southbound is slow back through Olive. 141 pretty busy, and this is at 44 this afternoon. Southbound 55 slowing at Bates. Westbound 40 is slow Hampton out through McCausland. Now we've got an accident reported eastbound 40 before Lindbergh. That's causing a jam back through 270. Slow-moving traffic eastbound 5570 on the Illinois side. Headed for the 64 split, and 64 eastbound is pretty slow, especially at 158. This report brought to you by Lakeside Renovation and Design. For over 25 years, they've been St. Louis's trusted choice for transforming homes inside and out. Windows, siding, kitchens, baths, outdoor spaces. They deliver quality craftsmanship backed by lifetime warranties. Visit lakesiderd.com to start your dream project today. I'm Sue Thomas with Traffic, 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Are you nearing retirement and don't know if you have enough money saved to retire? That is scary.
Do you have a written retirement financial plan in place? Well, when it comes to retirement planning, the trusted team at Financial and Tax Architects are the best. They've helped people all over St. Louis retire with confidence. And that's what you want. You want to retire with confidence. Now, they offer a one-night, 2.5-hour adult education class called Retirement Planning 101. They hold these at colleges over the St. Louis area and in Illinois. No cost, no obligation, just learning. And at this class, you learn how to avoid costly mistakes, how to maximize your income, how to reduce taxes in retirement. So call them today, 314-888-5101, or visit fta-ria.com and take the first step toward a smarter retirement. 314-888-5101.
You've been listening to the very popular Wellness One for many years, Saturdays and Sundays on 97.1 FM Talk. We're happy to share that we've expanded the show to 4 times a week. Yes, 4 times every weekend. Saturday at 10 a.m., Saturday at 8 p.m., Sunday at 9 a.m., and Sunday at 2 p.m. It's the same great show designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you a common sense, science-based strategy for a healthy life. So join TJ and Aaron for Wellness One. Now 4 times a week on 97.1 FM Talk.
Brotherhood of Rock. Now they celebrate 25 years. Styx. Kevin Cronin, former lead singer of REO Speedwagon. Special guest Don Felder, formerly of the Eagles. This Friday night, Hollywood Casino Amphitheater. Tickets on sale now at LiveNation.com. Styx, Kevin Cronin, Don Felder, Brotherhood of Rock.
When you're approaching retirement, there are a lot of questions to answer. Do you have enough money to fund your income for life? How should you claim Social Security? And what's your plan for health care and long-term care? Hi, I'm Eric Robert, Director of Investments with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel and host of On the Money Saturday mornings at 11 on 97.1 FM Talk. Don't leave your retirement to chance. It's crucial to understand and address relevant risks before you retire. Our team can help you get organized, guide you through critical retirement decisions, and create an investment portfolio designed around your needs. To schedule your free retirement plan consultation, go to clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com. Or call us at 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
And at 5:39, this portion of the show is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air.
For details and a list of all station contest rules, visit www.971talk.com/rules.
Born in the Midwest, built on common sense. 97.1 FM Talk. St. Louis conservative.
I feel like I am maybe not owed, that's not the right word, but maybe I've earned a honorary PhD in exposing DEI because of my conversations with John Seiler, who's with us tonight again, Director of Higher Education Policy and a Senior Fellow at the Manhattan Institute. I feel like I've been here with you from the beginning, blowing all this stuff up, John, with a lot of successes, more and more lately. How are you this afternoon?
I'm doing great. Always great to be here.
I never got to this last week. It was on my list, but there was yet another piece, this one in Real Clear Investigations, from a guy by the name of Dr. Kendall Conger, who was fired by Duke University because he started blowing up some of this DEI stuff years ago. And he was very happy that without public notice, they scrubbed their website of the commitment to DEI that they trumpeted in 2021 when they said racism is a public health crisis and equity is its cure. Now, the new statement of values is a little different, and it says leading with the heart, rooted in humanity. And I guess the original one there was Duke Health stands against racism, bias, and hate. And his story is another one, John, that is like so many of these people in higher education, the ones that had the guts to say, this is ridiculous that we're, putting so much focus on the color of someone's skin or their belief in Marxism outside of their qualifications to be a doctor.
Yeah. And, his story is not an isolated incident. And it's really interesting now to see that universities can kind of see which way the wind is blowing, and that is exposing that
while there have been a lot of true believers out there, there are also a lot of university administrators and professors who just went along and who were actually a part of, for lack of a better term, the cancellation mob, who are now, striking a very different tone. And that's an interesting thing to see unfold, even though there's still a lot of craziness out there.
Yeah, that you continue to expose. So on the good news front, the good news is at the end of July, the DOJ sends a letter to all the federal grant recipients reaffirming the principle of civil rights that discrimination is unlawful, right? No matter who you're discriminating against, it's unlawful. So there's a lot of people, I think, a lot of lawyers at these big universities that have been put on notice. We've seen university after university peel back on the DEI front. But then you still find places out there like, what is this, the University of Texas in Austin, or it's a different university where there's still, and you're finding documents and receipts that show how much emphasis they place on the hiring, focus of diversity, equity, and inclusion versus requirements or experience or expertise or anything along those lines.
Yeah, so the DOJ released a very well-reasoned, very legally solid document laying out what it actually means to say that discrimination in hiring is illegal. And the document lays out a lot of practices that we've talked about before. It talks about not just giving racial preferences, but also using proxies. So if you use the proxy of lived experience and say, we're not hiring on the basis of race, we're hiring on the basis of your underrepresented lived experience, or things like that, that too is illegal. And it goes through a list of different practices, diverse slate policies, the use of diversity statements if they're being used as a proxy. And you look through it, the dozen or so practices, and I could say that for each one that it lists, universities have constantly engaged in these practices for years. And so last week I released just a set of documents showing, for if you just go down the list, I can point to a document from UT Austin, I can point to a document from the University of Illinois, I can point to documents from Cornell, from University of Michigan. Just go down the list, and it's all there in writing. As one university professor told me a long time ago when I started doing this reporting, every day the universities wake up and break the law. And that's why this DOJ memo is so significant, because the DOJ memo comes with teeth. This is the federal government's law enforcement arm essentially saying that if you want to continue to have federal funding, you have to follow these basic rules.
So, for example, at the UT Austin situation, there was one thing that you acquired that showed that in a search for a professor of environmental biotechnology, 1/4 of that candidate's overall score is supposed to come from the DEI category, 25%.
Yeah, that's correct. So this was a search back in 2022. The Texas legislature has stepped in since then, and so we would hope that in a 2025 search this wouldn't happen. But 2022 wasn't that long ago, and UT Austin is a university in a red state that actually has cared a long time about these issues. And if you just peel back the surface a little bit, what do you see? You see that they were engaged in not just marginally, but massively tipping the scale in favor of environmental biotechnology experts' ability to contribute to DEI. I mean, there are so many reasons that this would be seemingly just absurd to any dispassionate, unbiased observer, because it has nothing to do with what is no doubt a very technical field at a top American public university. So that on its own is sort of ridiculous. But moreover, I think it's really important to underscore that this category for a long time has just been used as a substitute for race. And that's not allowed. That's never been allowed, but now it's been made crystal clear. And if UT Austin was doing it, you can bet that universities around the country have constantly engaged in this kind of practice. And this is a real moment of reckoning. And I can tell you, I know that universities are being incredibly cautious now because they know that if they engage in this kind of practice, it will be found out and they will get in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, I think the lawyers are involved now. Now, you mentioned Illinois in Champaign, not too far from where we are right now. You end up getting an email exchange where there's a professor on a search committee that asks an HR officer to, quote, unmask the job candidate's demographic information so he could identify people, and the quote is, who are or might be eligible for a special fellowship. Right now, that's not legal in and of itself, right? And the HR officer even said that I can't do that, right?
Right, and they have a fellowship that requires you to know what demographic information candidates have. Already, that suggests that this is a demographic-based fellowship, and that is concerning. What's interesting is that the email exchange continues, and they say, "Oh, the HR officer says, oh, we cannot tell you the demographic information of the job candidates." The professor says, well, how am I supposed to know who of these job candidates applying for a regular job is eligible for this special side deal fellowship that we have? And a diversity officer chimes in and he says, well, just look at the diversity statement. That should have the information. This is something that people have always assumed diversity statements do. It's just a way to tick the box when the box isn't there, a way to tick the box when you're not actually allowed to officially say, what your demographic information is, which in certain states, they don't collect that information. University of Illinois obviously didn't per their HR policy. So a lot of people have suspected this for a long time. But what's really interesting is there it is, right in the written word, in public documents that were available through public records requests. These things are out there, even in my capacity, just as an investigative journalist. I find it all the time. So just imagine what's going to happen when the federal government gets involved and when they get these documents.
Yeah.
These investigations are going to be explosive if they ever get to the point of, the equivalent of legal discovery.
John Seiler, who's the director of higher education policy and a senior fellow at the Manhattan Institute, and just really a hero on this DEI stuff and exposing it. John, you know how much of a fan I am. Thank you so much for continuing to do this work. And yes, this could get very interesting in the future with the DOJ involved. But I hope you're having a good time and a good week, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
All right, take care, John. Thanks.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Watch out for an accident eastbound 6440 past Spady, really close to Lindbergh. They've got the right lanes blocked, and traffic, of course, is jammed behind that. Now, the big issue this afternoon was this accident northbound 270 past Doherty Ferry. The two left lanes remain blocked, and we've got a jam behind that. And southbound still a little slow in that area, but it's looking a lot better. Still busy, though, ramping from eastbound 44 onto northbound 270. We've got volume on the Illinois side coming off the Poplar Street Bridge. And this, of course, is eastbound, headed for the 70 split. And out west, we look good on 6440 and 70 westbound. I'm Sue Thomas with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Let's get you some expert tuck pointing work here in the St. Louis area. If you can hear my voice right now, if you're in St. Charles or Wentzville or in Clayton or Wildwood or Afton or Richmond Heights, they can help you out here. So basically, if you can hear my voice, Morelli Tuck Pointing can help you out. They have a great staff, longtime employees who have worked with John and Cindy. It's a family operation. Their daughter, Deanna's husband, also working in the business right now. They specialize in commercial and residential masonry and tuck pointing. They've been doing it for 30 plus years. 1991 is when they started, and they have the knowledge and the tools necessary to complete your project properly, professionally, and sometimes they exceed expectations. I know that if you read the reviews at MorelliTuckPointing.com, you'll see a constant theme of people saying, well, that happened a lot faster than I thought. The job was really done quicker. There's no promises made, of course, but this is what you get when you have a company that's been in this for this long, and they really focus on great customer service and customer satisfaction. It's a free estimate. If you need work, any kind of masonry work, all you got to do is pick up the phone and call 314-645-1387. The website has everything you need. MorelliTuckPointing.com. Morelli Tuck Pointing, the masonry specialist here in St. Louis.
97.1 FM Talk is proud to support the Make Missouri Pro-Life Again banquet. Mark Cox here. Join me Monday, September 8th at the St. Charles Convention Center with special guest speaker Laura Trump. Learn more at 971talk.com/events.
Hi, I'm Bob Kershaw with Retirement Advisory Group. Are you worried about market volatility? Are you concerned your money won't last you through retirement?
Hi, I'm Tammy Kershaw, and as a family-owned business, we are committed to protecting your retirement, whether you're nearing retirement or already retired. We have a lot of folks that aren't aware of all the new investment choices that are available, which give you growth and protection from losses at the same time. Are you aware of all the fees that you are currently paying? We can show you how to avoid those fees. So come in now for your free retirement review and get a second opinion on your retirement plan. And just for coming in, you'll get a copy of our latest edition book, Your Key to a Worry-Free Retirement. Let us show you how to retire with confidence.
We are proud to say we haven't lost a penny of our clients' money in 39 years, and we won't lose a penny of yours either. Let our family help your family. Call us now at 314-993-9494 or go online to retirementkey.com. That's retirementkey.com.
It's the greatest pop rock of the 60s and 70s. The Happy Together Tour 2025 with the Turtles, Jay and the Americans, Little Anthony, Gary Puckett and the Union Gap, the Vogues, and the Cowsills. This Thursday night, the Family Arena. Reserve seats on sale now at the Carroll House Furniture box office located at the Family Arena or Ticketmaster.
Get ready for BTO live in concert. Bachman Turner Overdrive with special guests April Wine and Zebra. Roll on down the Highway 2025 tour. Saturday, August 30th, the Family Arena, a night of vintage BTO. Tickets on sale now at the Carroll House Furniture box office, located at the Family Arena or Ticketmaster. Don't miss Bachman Turner Overdrive.
Are you looking to hire? ZipRecruiter finds the best candidate for your job fast. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Bold conversations, no apologies. The Mark Reardon Show, 97.1 FM Talk.
Well, I guess it's a good thing for Andrew Bailey, but I am selfishly not happy with this. We alluded to this earlier on the show, and just about 90 seconds ago, our Attorney General, Andrew Bailey, soon to be our former Attorney General, said, "I'm proud to announce that I've accepted the role of co-deputy director of the FBI. I extend my thanks to POTUS and AG Pam Bondi for the opportunity to serve in the mission to make America safe again. I will protect America and uphold the Constitution." I've gotten rather close with Andrew Bailey, and I'm happy for him as far as, this being the next step in his career. But I thought he was doing such a great job here in Missouri, and I don't know who the top of the list might be here for the next AG, but we got another AG coming because Andrew Bailey is going to Washington.
Stand by. Playback ready.
Now, the audio cut of the day.
All right, I'll make it a quick one here because all of the leaders of the Western nations and Zelensky met with Trump today in Washington. The meeting lasted maybe 3 hours. Not much has been said since, but here's what the president said earlier today.
It's been almost 4 years now that millions of people killed, but a lot of people last week, for whatever reason, a big number, a lot of soldiers, on both sides. And I know the president, I know myself, and I believe Vladimir Putin wants to see it ended.
We'll have more on this tomorrow. We'll have more on Andrew Bailey, of course, at 3 o'clock tomorrow. Have a great night.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Accident eastbound 6440 approaching Lindbergh. They've got the right lanes blocked. Traffic, of course, is stacked up behind it. Right now, it's back through about 270. But we're looking better pretty much everywhere else on the Missouri side. Now, we had that major accident on northbound 270. That one just past Doherty Ferry. They had the left lanes blocked for a long time. Things are much better through there. More lanes open. And if you're headed into Illinois, eastbound 5564, jams headed for the 70-64 split. I'm Sue Thomas with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
When it comes to affordable term life insurance, everyone's whistling the Big Lou tune. If you're over